Foundations of Mindfulness. Please pay attention. We have been following the instructions that the Buddha gave in the sutta called Satipatthana, or the sutta about the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which covers all human activities. Human lives or human ways of conduct can be divided into 4, the realm of body, the realm of feeling, the realm of thought, and the realm of mind objects. There are a lot of details concerning these 4 aspects of a human being. Our bodies have experienced a lot of things, we have felt a lot of feelings, encountered various kinds of thoughts, and faced a lot of mind objects or mental impressions. No matter what happens to the body or to the physical form, with mindfulness we can understand the fundamental truth, or the fundamental nature that underlies the activities of the body. Mindfulness gives us insight into the nature of the body. The underlying nature, the fundamental law, that governs the physical realm is what we call, the 3 common characteristics, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and no self. Feelings are also subject to the 3 common characteristics. Every kind of feeling, whether it results from contact with the eyes, with the ears, with the nose, with the tongue, with body, or with mind, is subject to these 3 common characteristics. Ultimately, feelings have no self. We cannot take them to be a self or a person. If we do not understand the reality of feelings, we will be their slave. We will try to struggle for the pleasant feelings, we will try our best to protect whatever can give us pleasant feelings. A lot of people are busy possessing objects that provide them with pleasant feelings, but they will ultimately find that they cannot keep them all the time. They are subject to change, to vanish. The Buddha always stresses that a feeling is not self, it is not the person, it is not the individual, so do not take it to be a person or self. Worldly beings who do not practice cannot understand what the Buddha said, but we will be able to understand if we practice hard enough. During the past few days we have been here, we may not have attained this insight yet, but it is within our capacity to see, to understand, and to have insight into the nature of feelings. We should understand mind or mental formations too. Thoughts, or mental impressions, are very important because if we are not aware of our thoughts they will give rise to anger, hatred, and delusion. They will give rise to pleasure, pain, sorrow, happiness, and a lot of conventions. Law, rules, regulations, and all sorts of things will come into play and your thoughts will proliferate without end. Thus we should learn to understand the thinking process. Can we see thoughts? Can we know the thoughts that arise in our minds? Do we follow the thoughts or do we just know them, just be aware of them? Do we suffer because of thoughts or do they make us happy? Can we see how thoughts are not self? Are we able to see them as void or empty of self? If we understand and see the thoughts that arise in our minds, thoughts are no big deal. We will become their master. But if we do not know the thoughts in our minds, they will control our lives, they will be our masters. To practice mindfulness meditation, we start by cultivating awareness of our bodies. We start at this point and then we become aware of feelings. Once we are confident enough to be aware of body and feelings, we will then go to the next step of being aware of our thoughts. We cannot jump directly to awareness of our thoughts, because we need to be skillful enough or it will cause us trouble. Our mindfulness should be cultivated and it has to start from an awareness of the body and our feelings. Once our mindfulness is developed enough, we will proceed further to train ourselves to be aware of our minds. We have to know the former step thoroughly first. If we ignore the awareness of the body, and jump to the step of mental awareness, we will become easily lost in our thoughts. To handle our thoughts and mental impressions, we need to know their weak points. It is as thought we are going to handle a snake. Snakes are harmful, but the skillful person who knows their weak point can capture them without getting hurt. It is like handling an elephant. Elephants are very big and strong, much stronger than human beings, but if we know their weak point we can capture and harness them. Whatever strength it has, however powerful it is, it does not matter because we know how to handle it. The same goes for our relationship with our minds and our thoughts. We have to know the weak point of our thoughts, then we will understand and will be able to handle them. We should know what their source is and how they are conditioned. With this knowledge, thoughts will not be harmful anymore. Keep knowing your body and mind. Stay only with the knowing, and do not do other than this. Stay firmly with knowing, and knowingness will bring about a change to your mind. We need not do anything to the mind or even the thoughts, but just pay attention to our awareness, the knowingness. Luangpor Teean compared unintentional thoughts to a rat and mindfulness to a cat. For ordinary people, the rat is very big while mindfulness is very small, the cat is very small. If you want the cat to get rid of the rat, you have to feed the cat properly, so that it will grow bigger and bigger until it can catch the rat. So what is the food for the cat, or mindfulness? We have to feed mindfulness with endurance, with diligence, and with constant effort to cultivate our mindfulness. They will develop our mindfulness, and mindfulness will do its duty on its own, handling, replacing, or removing the thoughts from our minds. We do not need to do anything with the thoughts. Just allow your mindfulness to grow and mindfulness will do its job. So, try to be firm on this principle. Does it sound difficult? Now let's talk about the fourth category, mind objects. There are two kinds of mind objects. One belongs to the realm of wholesomeness, and the other, unwholesomeness. Wholesomeness will enable us to be skillful, to be wise, and to be intelligent. It keeps our minds normal, stable, and unmoved by pleasure or pain. The unwholesomeness mind object, the second kind of mind object, always brings trouble to us. It creates a lot of suffering, and it turns one's mind to hell, to be animal-like, or to be a ghost. So, this is what we should be aware of. If we understand these four aspects of reality, body, feeling, thoughts, and mind objects, we have already covered all aspects of a human being, and our study is completed. So try to be familiar with these four realms of our lives, and learn to cultivate awareness of body and mind, of thought, and of mind objects. Once we finish such study, our minds will become the noble life, the life that is harmful neither to ourselves nor to other people. It is called noble. Noble means harmless. Do not become stuck in doubt, in uncertainty. I can assure you that all kinds of sufferings, defilement, and unwholesomeness, are born out of our ignorance of the nature of body and mind, and strengthened by it. Once we have attained insight into body, feeling, mind, and mind objects, these four aspects, our lives should be liberated. What I have learned, and have not learned much, I learned about these four aspects of life or reality. And, Luangpor Teean did not teach much, he only taught these. Once I understand these, I no longer need the master. I no longer search for or seek any master. My study has been finished, my search finished, and now I do not need master anymore. Now I have no fear at all. I have confidence in myself because I do not teach for fame, for wealth, for material gain, or for any reward. I just want to help people to understand themselves, and to realize the truth. What I have said are just words, but it is not what I have memorized from any texts. I have not much learning, but what I share with you is from my direct experience, from my own realizations. That is why I am confident speaking and sharing with you. That is all. Please regard all of us as brothers and sisters. The Buddha is the father, Dhamma is the mother, and Sangha is the brothers and sisters. Question: how does one know it is time for him to tackle with thoughts? Answer: you are ready to see the thoughts once you can know a thought, when a thought arises and you are aware of it, and you are not dragged by thoughts? If you are still being dragged by thoughts, leave them behind and just pay attention to body and feeling. It is like learning a language. In the beginning, we have to learn from a teacher, and the teacher has to start from A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D, or the language, is still something out there, but once we internalize it, we become one with the language, and we are skillful enough to use the language. The same is true of the practice. We need to practice until we become confident enough that it becomes our habit. When a thought arises, you are immediately aware of it, and can handle it properly. The more we are confident, the more we are able to handle or to control our minds. Finally, awareness will lead us out of suffering. If we still become lost in our thoughts and are still moved by them, still get happy or suffer because of them, it is not time yet. Anyway, for beginners, the first step of practice is not to keep knowing the thoughts. Please be aware of the body first. Once you are competent enough, it is okay to go ahead to the next step of mental awareness. Question: how do you get rid of drowsiness during the practice? Answer: it is natural to get drowsy. Everybody has to face this problem and overcome it. Otherwise, it will become an obstacle to the progress of meditation. Drowsiness is caused by the laziness of your mind. We should activate it. Try to give our mind a job to do. Pay attention to external things, so that it becomes activated again, or change your posture, or feel the vibration of your body. When I started the practice, I kept a bucket of water near me. When I felt drowsy, I used the water to wake me up. When it didn't work, I just put my head into the bucket to wake myself up. Do not close your eyes. Do not yawn, close your mouth and resist yawning. Make your movements stronger, smile, refresh yourself, and feel confident and courageous. Defeat it and subdue it. There are 5 hindrances that obstruct us from making progress in our spiritual activities. The first one is drowsiness, the second is restlessness or agitation, the third is doubt, the fourth is sensual desire, and the last is ill will or hatred. Drowsiness is like indolence, restlessness is like mischief, naughty, or stubborn, doubt has a nature of no self-determination or no resolution. These are the 3 dominant qualities of the mind during our progress. What the Buddha said is already in ourselves. He taught our reality. Question: on the conventional level, we have a saying, follow your heart, not your mind. Answer: it is the wholesomeness in our mind and in our hearts that tell us what we should do. We should transform anger to compassion, suffering to happiness, and agitation to peacefulness. It is wisdom that tells us what to do. If we know this is good or this is bad, if we know this is harmful or this is not, we do what is good and unharmful. I do not know whether you call it heart or mind. Just follow it. Question: just follow it and act on it? So it will not create any cause and effect? Answer: oh, sure, if it is a good cause, if one is mindful, if it is not harmful to oneself and others, it is a good karma. If it is harmful to oneself and to others, that is a bad karma, a bad deed. Question: should we just follow the middle path, if we are not sure whether it is a good cause or not? Just sort of ignore it and not act upon it? Answer: don't worry whether it is from mind or from heart. If you know it is harmful, avoid it. If it is good, act on it. We do not know, and we do not have such an expression in Thai, at least not one that is popular among the Buddhist monks. We often follow the heart and create a lot of problems. It is a different cultural orientation. Question: how does mindfulness work? Answer: you will realize it after you see it very often. You will realize, oh, it is like this. It is a matter of how frequently you see it. Avoid thinking, analyzing, or reasoning. Watch your body until your mindfulness is developed enough, and your mindfulness will be like a fire alarm, a smoke detector. The smoke detector never watches or keeps looking for smoke, but once it detects even a small amount of smoke, the alarm goes off. Mindfulness is like that. You will be aware of even a small portion of thought that arises automatically, without intention. So allow mindfulness to work on its own, do not order it or command it. Mindfulness works like that. Question: can you comment on psychic power, miracle, or New Age? Answer: if it happens and you become attached to it, there is the problem, but if you just see it and let it go, or if you are just aware of it, that is good. But normally people are attached to it. They want something special, but psychic power is not the real miracle. The real miracle, according to the Buddha, is the ability to be aware. When you sit and know that you are sitting, that is the supreme miracle according to the Buddha. Psychic power is the result of concentration, not awareness. If you have strong concentration, then your mind becomes powerful. Monks or people who practice mindfulness meditation seldom attain this power, but it is a shortcut to enlightenment, because you are unlikely to be distracted by psychic power, so you go ahead. Otherwise, you see flowers, you see shopping centers, you make visits, and then progress is delayed, but the delay is enjoyable. As for New Age, do not pay attention to things out there. They are just technology. If you enjoy technology, such as computers, it may seem like progress to you and you may enjoy spending whole day with the computer. You are better in terms of power over technology, but you are not any wiser than other people. Technomania, the same mentality for those who are interested in psychic power in Buddhism, leads to suffering. June 13, 1997. Lifetime practice. We have already studied the sacred Buddhist texts, especially the text on the four foundations of mindfulness. We practice through our experience, which is in reality the sacred text that is already in ourselves. With our practice, we have investigated into the text which is the experience in ourselves. We have investigated or trained ourselves to be aware of body, feeling, mind, or thoughts, and mind objects, the key points in this sacred Buddhist text. How can we see them? We see these four phenomena through mindfulness. With mindfulness, we are able to understand the reality of these four aspects. We have to cultivate mindfulness or awareness in order to see these four aspects of reality, otherwise, we cannot have understanding. We cannot know body, feeling, thoughts, and mind objects with intellect, nor through reasoning or analytical mind. The only way is to realize, to experience ourselves, then the realization will arise. We have explored the realms of the body, feelings, mind, and mind objects. In fact, there are many details in the realms of body, feeling, thoughts, and mind objects. The more we practice, the more we experience the reality of these four realms, the more we are familiar with the sacred Buddhist text. Keep trying. Keep practicing, so that you will be familiar with awareness, and gain an understanding of the nature of body and mind, of the condition of body, and of the activities of body and mind. You will achieve insight into body and mind, and will have a thorough understanding of body and mind. If you reach that point, you will have already finished the study of this text, this sutra, and you will be able to handle feelings properly. Feelings are everywhere, but I would like you to be stable like stones. Stones are here, stones are there, stones are everywhere, in Thailand, and in America. Stones are the symbol of stability, of constancy, of normality. So, if you handle feelings properly, and know not to be moved by whatever feeling it may be, or whatever feeling you may experience, your mind will be normal and constant, not getting high or low because of feelings, pleasant or unpleasant. If we do not know the nature of feelings clearly, we are going to be their servants. We will run after feelings, struggles for pleasant feelings and run away from unpleasant ones. Feelings, especially pleasant feelings, can lead to war. They bring a lot of consequences. Our lives will be dependent on pursuing pleasant feelings. That is why suffering arises. So, please understand feelings properly. Everyone has body and mind, and we have to stay with body and mind. We also all share the same feelings and mental impressions. They are present in all of us. If we understand body, mind, feelings, mental impressions, and mind objects, we will understand each other, we will realize that everybody is one, the same. So this sacred text can be applied universally. The Buddha has already laid out the formula to understand human beings, to understand ourselves. So, please try to learn this sutra, this text, through our practice in cultivating awareness and mindfulness. If we know this reality thoroughly, completely, our search for the meaning of life is complete. We have already graduated, there will be no need to study anymore. We get high or low, depressed or happy, feel pleasure or pain. We are up and down because of feelings or emotions, because we take them to be substantial, to be a person. We make them personal because we do not understand the real nature of these mental impressions. Somebody may feel, during the practice, that they are tired. But if you understand mental impressions clearly, you would rather say, tiredness is present in me, not, I am tired. We do not take tiredness to be ourselves or to be a person. So please develop an observer in your mind, within yourself. Just see the feeling, acknowledge it, notice it, don't identify with it, and you will learn how to be free of it. So, keep looking into yourself, keep observing, keep seeing, and you will be free, will see, will understand its real nature. If you see it frequently, the truth of body and mind will reveal itself for us to see. Actually, the truth reveals itself at every moment, but since we do not know how to see it, we miss it. There are a lot of consequences of not understanding the truth of body and mind. Defilement, anger, hatred, delusion, selfishness, and suffering, are all results of our inability to see body and mind properly. So, it is very important to learn seeing body and mind, to be aware of body and mind. Thought, or the thinking process, influences our speech and our conduct. Thus produces a lot of consequences and affect people in various ways, from one person to another, forming chain reactions. So, simply put, thoughts can produce a lot of consequences. But if we see the thoughts and understand their nature, they will not have as much influence or consequences. Unintentional thoughts cannot last if you see them, if you are aware of them they are not substantial. Once we are aware of them, they just fade away, so do not think they are substantial. Just be aware of them. They cannot produce consequences. A thought has no end, it is always concocting reality. If we do not know the way of the thought it will start another one and another, without end. There is a story of a dog in a monastery. Sitting under the staircase, the dog saw a monk returning from the alms round with food. It thought the monk very lucky because he could get food easily. After finishing his breakfast, the monk gave the leftovers to the dog. The dog had the idea that being a dog is even better, it can have food easily without having to go through the village. But after a while, a monastery boy beat the dog and the dog changed its mind, I would like to be the boy because he can beat the dog, he is superior to the dog. After the boy went to sleep, a fly buzzed over him, and the boy made a fuss trying to get rid of the fly without success. So, the dog thought being a fly would be better because he could disturb the boy, and the boy would not be able to get rid of it. A while later, though, the fly flew to the dog's mouth, so the dog just stretched his tongue out and caught the fly. He finally realized that to be a dog is better because he could overcome the fly. This is the concocting mind, the power of compounded thinking without end. We change our minds all the time. In a thought itself, there is truth, the truth of the thought, the cause of suffering as well as the cause of happiness, the truth of the way, the suffering and the way out of suffering, the truth of attachment and the truth of detachment. Thought is not a self, it is subject to condition. You have to understand that thoughts are created by conditional factors. They cannot exist alone. So we have to understand the conditions that produce the thoughts. All kinds of truths about suffering and the cessation of suffering can be learned, can be known within the truth itself. Truth is not a self. It is a condition. You have to understand. The Buddha said to Sariputta, that things and existence are produced by causes. They are governed by the law of causality. If you want to extinguish this, you have to get rid of that, because that is the cause of this. This is the law of causality, the law of dependent origination. So, if thoughts are subject to this law, they have causes and sources. If we want to get rid of an undesirable thought, we need not suppress it or eliminate it, but we should trace it back to where it came from, and then deal with it. Buddha achieved victory because he knew how to deal with the cause of suffering. So, to understand the underlying cause of thoughts, we need to develop awareness. Our awareness should be totally developed, full awareness. The way that the Buddha mentioned in many sermons, including the first sermon, was formalized and laid out in the text of the Four Foundations of Mindfulness. The way that he mentioned is important. If you follow that way, you will learn how to realize the truth properly. The nature of all existence is subject to impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and no self. If you do not understand this, you will get high in pleasant feelings, and get low in unpleasant feelings. Life cannot always be pleasant, you will sometimes suffer. Our minds are moved up and down. But if we know all objects, all feelings, and do not take them to be substantial, do not identify ourselves with them, they can neither harm us nor disturb our minds. This is what I would like to stress. The retreat is not over as long as we have breath or are alive. We need to practice as long as body and mind exist with us. As long as we still have feelings and emotions, we need to continue our practice. To give you an idea that we are not alone, anything happens to us, noise, voice, people, sight and sound, taste and smell, from surroundings, have involved our lives. We have to learn to deal with all sorts of things properly, so that we will not suffer. June 14, 1997. Buddhist meditation in a nutshell. I would like to talk about the problems of meditation. They are problems that we all share: drowsiness, pain, tiredness, and exhaustion. These problems are quite normal for the practitioner. We have all experienced the same kind of problems. The only duty we have is to be mindful in every moment and in every situation. Whether you are drowsy, tired, or feel pain, try to be mindful in that situation, meaning you are not disturbed by these problems. Do not regard them as obstacles, but take them as experiences that enrich your practice. Because skillful practitioners have to learn how to deal with various kinds of experiences. Do not try to find answers in the intellect or in your brain, or try to investigate into the thoughts, or make reasons for what you have experienced. Just feel. Just stay aware. The practice of awareness will bring you insight or wisdom. It is the wisdom that is not the result of intellect or rationalization, but of repeated practice. This kind of wisdom enables you to understand the nature of reality. And the practitioner who concentrates on this kind of practice, will obtain wisdom in return. This is what we call wisdom resulting from practice, not from intellect or from memorization. There are 4 kinds of objects that you should be aware of. The first is the body. The second is the feeling or sensation: coldness, heat, happiness, suffering. These are all in the realm of sensation. The third is thoughts, and the 4th kind of object is what we call mind objects. Mind objects mean the states of the mind or mental qualities. They include 5 hindrances: sensual desire, ill will, sloth, anxiety and doubt, and 7 factors of enlightenment: mindfulness, truth investigation, effort, zest, calmness, concentration and equanimity. Be it a wholesome or unwholesome object, just be aware of it. So train yourself to be aware of these 4 objects over and over. If you are not mindful, the body will bring you suffering and a lot of problems, feelings will create a lot of problems for you, as will thoughts and mind objects. So, it is crucial for us to be mindful with respect to body, feelings, mind, and the mind object. And this will give you insight. the more you are aware, the closer you are to insight. That is why we call this practice insight meditation, the meditation that brings you insight. The first level of the enlightened one is called Sotapanna. It means one who has entered the stream of enlightenment. The first level of the enlightened one is one who is free from or lets go of the first three fetters. The first one is a false view of person or false view of self. It means the view that this body belongs to me. This body is me, this body is myself. You take this body as me or mine, or take me as being in the body, or take body as being in myself. You take this body as substantial. But, if you attain insight into body and mind from this method of meditation, you can liberate yourself from this false view of self. The second fetter is uncertainty, skeptical doubt. Once you have realized the true nature of body and mind, you achieve insight or wisdom, and you have no doubts about the practice or about the proper way of meditating. The third fetter is attachment to form, to rituals, to legalities, or to the rules. This practice is good, is correct, that practice is not good, not correct. This rule is okay, that rule is not okay. This etiquette is good, that etiquette is bad. These are what we call attachment to the rules and rituals. If we see the true nature of all things clearly and achieve insight of the true nature of all things, we will be able to go beyond this concept of right or wrong. The objective of insight meditation is not to gain psychic power of telepathy, to penetrate anyone's mind, to fly in the air, or to go underground. Those are not the objects of meditation. The objective of Buddhist meditation is to have total awareness of body, of feelings, of mind, and of mind objects. Such awareness will give rise to insight. The first step of insight is the insight into body and mind. With this insight you know without doubt what body is, what mind is, what the nature of body is, what the nature of mind is, what the disease of body is, what the disease of mind is, what causes suffering to the body, what causes suffering to the mind. This is the insight into body and mind. And once you achieve this insight, your practice will go on to the next step of the practice, learning to be aware of thoughts. In the beginning, as I suggested a few days ago, you should just be aware of your body. Do not mind your thoughts. Just leave whatever thoughts arise behind. But once you get insight into body and mind, you have to practice the second stage of being aware of your thoughts. Yet, to be aware of your thoughts does not mean that you have to investigate them. Just see them, register them, and then turn your attention to the practice of body movement. Do not bargain or negotiate with your thoughts, not try to find the motive or reason behind them, do not ask yourself why you have such thoughts, why your thoughts are unwholesome. Not at all. Just be aware of them and come back to the practice. From this second step of practice, another kind of insight will take place. With this insight, you can go straight. The truth will reveal itself and you will see things clearly without using analytical thinking. You just see it and understand it. So, it is as if you go straight without interruption. Once you achieve a certain kind of insight, you will be able to look back and see what you have already passed. I would compare it with my walk here from the pond. I just go straight from the pond to this hall, and when I turn back I can clearly see everything that I have passed. This is the state of the mind that gets you insight. Is it difficult to understand? This practice, which develops mindfulness, is the practice that includes all kinds of training. In Buddhism we have three kinds of training. We call it threefold training: training in higher morality, training in higher concentration, training in higher wisdom. With this practice you will go through the threefold training because with mindfulness you observe morality, mindfulness also gives rise to concentration, and later wisdom arises from the practice. Once you achieve the insight that I mentioned, you will have no doubts about evil or goodness, and you will have no doubt about religion, what Buddhism is. You will have no doubts because it is clear to you, and there is no need to ask yourself what you have achieved. It is as if you take breakfast or lunch. Once you are full, you know you are full. You do not need more food. It is a realization nobody needs to confirm for you. You can confirm it for yourself. It is all right or good for you to experience drowsiness, frustration, and anxiety, because they help you learn. They come for you to see them, and the more you see them the more you will understand, just as the more often I see you the more I know you. I cannot mistake anybody for you. Once these mental qualities appear to you, do not be lost in them. Try to see them, do not identify with them, but see them, observe them. And the more you see them, the less likely they are to disturb you. They will gradually fade away. July 8, 1997. Insight Meditation. It's time to give a talk to complement your practice. We are practicing meditation to develop mindfulness, according to the system that the Buddha developed. This system of practice was not invented by Luangpor Teean or by anybody else, but was developed thousands of years ago by the Buddha. It is called insight meditation or Vipassana meditation. It is different from the calmness meditation, that was developed even before the time of the Buddha. The primary aim is to develop insight through mindfulness. The mindfulness that we experience or have already developed, is the same mindfulness that the Buddha experienced. And the body that we are going to be aware of, is not different from the one that the Buddha used as an object of meditation. The feelings or the sensations that we need to be aware of are also the same that the Buddha meditated on. And all the hindrances that we encounter, be it anxiety, uncertainty, indolence, anger or sensual desire, are also the same that the Buddha faced and overcame. So, what we do is not far from what the Buddha did or experienced. There are two objects that we have to be aware of, body and mind. That which moves is body. The hand's movement is the body's movement. That which receives sense impressions or that which think is the mind. The primary objective is to enable us to be aware of the body in the beginning. This practice enables us to be aware of every moment, every movement we make, either in our daily lives or in the formal practice as we are doing now. Sometimes we take this body as mine. We take our thoughts to be my thoughts, to be myself, or to belong to myself. These are misperceptions, or false views. We should take the body as body, mind as the mind, and nothing beyond that. The body follows the laws of nature. It has its own nature. The body is also subject to change. It has feelings. Do not take feelings or physical sensations as self or as substantial. They are just the condition of the body, just the feeling of the body. The same applies to the mind. There are many kinds of mental states: anger, drowsiness, anxiety, happiness, suffering, etc. These are not the real nature of the mind. They are just the activities of the mind or the conditions of the mind. The nature of the mind itself is peaceful and radiant. Again, do not take the negative emotions as the nature of mind. They are just the conditions of the mind. Please differentiate between these two aspects, nature and conditions or activities. If you have this understanding, the understanding of the nature and conditions of body and mind, you have already achieved insight into the reality of body and mind. When we develop mindfulness, it enables us to see and to be aware of body as body, feeling as feeling, mind as mind, and do not take them to be selves, to be ourselves, to be me, or to be mine. When anger, anxiety, or suffering arises, please see them as they really are. Recognize that suffering is present in me, but I am not suffering. Anger is present in me, but I am not angry. Drowsiness arises in me, but I am not drowsy. Try to see or to be aware like this. Do not take any emotion as yourself or belonging to you. Just take it or see it as it is. That is the proper attitude to have. When you practice mindfulness to a certain point, you will have this insight into body and mind, and the truth of body and mind will reveal itself. What is the nature of body? What is the nature of mind? What is the suffering of body? What is the suffering of mind? What is the cause of physical suffering? What is the cause of mental suffering? These are the truths that will reveal themselves when you attain a certain level of insight, and these will reduce your suffering. You have to look. You have to be aware. Then, insight will occur. If you are lost in thoughts or emotions, you cannot see, cannot understand the nature of mind. If you take this body as self or as belonging to you, you will not be able to understand the real nature of your body. So please keep knowing, and being aware of whatever happens to your mind and body. Do not identify yourself with thoughts, feelings, or emotions. Just see them. When you are aware, you will realize that the mind is impermanent, it is subject to suffering, and it is not self. The same goes for the body. The body is impermanent, it is subject to suffering, and it is not self. These are the insights, the results of awareness. Can you understand? The noise disturbs us, but sound is just sound. Do not bother with it. Don't be disturbed by noise. Just accept it. That's the way it is. Do not let it have an effect on you. The state of awareness is very important. It is the path. It is the fundamental of holy life. It is the whole of the training. In Buddhism we have three aspects of training, or threefold training: training in higher morality, sila; training in higher concentration, samadhi; training in higher wisdom, panya. If you practice mindfulness, you have already undergone this threefold training. Awareness enables you to be free from thoughts, free from mental states. It enables you to let go of these elements. And if you achieve the full awareness, you will be free from birth, aging, sickness, and death. You will no longer be disturbed by them. Mindfulness is the instrument to get rid of attachment, to let go of attachment, attachment to body or form, attachment to feelings, attachment to perceptions, attachment to mental volition, or attachment to consciousness. These 5 kinds of attachment, or attachment of 5 aggregates, will be dissolved by the power of awareness. The Buddha once said that attachment to the 5 aggregates, form, feeling, perception, mental volition, and consciousness, is suffering. It is the cause of suffering. So if you are able to let go of the attachment to the 5 aggregates, suffering cannot exist. That's why the Buddha calls it the supreme victory, the victory of letting go of these attachments. For this to be possible, you need to have full awareness, total mindfulness, which will enable you to see the way things really are, and to understand the nature and the conditions of things. The nature of things is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and no self. The conditions of things are subject to change. Pleasant, unpleasant, agreeable, disagreeable, content or discontent, these are the conditions of things that keep changing. They are not reality. What I told you is the truth, the Dhamma, it is not a fiction or an invention. And this state of insight is not beyond your reach. It is in your capacity to attain the truth, to realize the truth. Keep practicing. Develop awareness as much as possible. Do not waste your time on thoughts or on the thinking process. Just practice. Do not dwell on your thoughts. That's all for today. July 9, 1997. A handful of Buddhism. We are learning to practice meditation. The purpose of meditation is to develop awareness and mindfulness. The more we exercise awareness, the more we develop it. It will become present in our bodies, and our minds will become familiar with our bodies because of mindfulness. Try to make your mind familiar with your body, so that it will be with your body. People are differentiated by their actions, karma. Karma is the determining factor that differentiates all of us. If we practice mindfulness, it is the action that can determine our lives and have an effect on us. Keep practicing mindfulness. If we practice enough and properly, it already includes the training in higher morality, the training in higher concentration, and the training in higher wisdom, or what we call, the threefold training. There are many things that keep us from being aware, and keep us from knowing. There are sensations, or feelings. If we are caught up in feelings, our mind is turned from ourselves or from the body, and we do not experience awareness. Unintentional thoughts also keep us from being aware. Be they good thoughts or bad thoughts, if we are distracted by them, awareness disappears and we cannot create the desirable karma of practicing awareness. So try to turn your mind away from those feelings and thoughts. Do not become distracted or disturbed by them. If you become aware and keep knowing your body, you will realize later that the unintentional thoughts are like the garbage. They are undesirable and we are no longer tempted by them as before. We do not refuse or reject feelings or thoughts, but we are not to be caught up in any of them. Mindfulness enables us to be aware of these feelings and thoughts, and mindfulness enables us to bring the mind back to the body's movement. We keep knowing, keep being aware, and keep returning our attention to our bodies, rather than being lost in our feelings, emotions, or thoughts. These will give rise to insight. We will see clearly that the unintentional thoughts are garbage that cannot trick us anymore. Formerly we may have enjoyed thinking the thoughts, falling into them, getting caught up in them. But once we see them as garbage, we feel ashamed of ourselves, and we no longer want to bother with them. This is the insight that you can achieve from thoughts themselves. They give you this lesson. When thoughts arise, just be aware of them. And I myself, as I told you yesterday, have been caught up in thoughts for many years, never aware of how they determined my life. But one day I was suddenly aware, I suddenly understood. I suddenly bumped into a thought, saw it face to face, and finally overcame it. My thoughts could not tempt me or trick me anymore. This was the decisive victory. Before that, I was the slave of my thoughts which concocted greed, hatred, and delusion. With thoughts, greed, hatred, and delusion arise. A lot of thoughts become the consequence of those defilements. Once I understood and saw the thought clearly, I became its master. The thoughts cannot be my master anymore. This is the insight, the result of accumulated awareness. The four categories, body, feelings, mind or thoughts, and mind objects, keep coming into our lives. We experience all of them. During practice, they keep coming, keep arising, and keep disturbing our minds. We do not know how to deal with them because we do not have enough mindfulness. But if our mindfulness is strong enough, they just come for us to learn and see their nature clearly, to see that they are temporary states of mind. There are two kinds of nature, the nature of body and mind, and the conditional state of body and mind. These are the two aspects of body and mind that we can realize, that we can understand. Later we can see where thoughts come from. Where are they? What is their source or origin? What is their stronghold? We can know it all. We will also be able to know the three characteristics, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and no self. We will know what they are, and we see everything in terms of them. This insight is possible because of the mindfulness that we keep developing. Everything that we experience can be put into two realms, body and mind. It is all related to these two realms, body and mind, and no more than that. When we are aware of the body and mind, we can see the two aspects that I mentioned earlier, the true nature of body and mind, and the conditional or the temporary state of body and mind. For example, feelings, whatever they are, heat or cold, pleasure or pain, happiness or suffering, these are not the true nature of body and mind. They are just the temporary states or conditions that keep changing. This reality or insight will reveal itself. These are the insights that keep coming to the mind. Be attentive to your practice. Do not bother with the practice of other people, looking to see how they practice, or how long they practice, or how well they practice. Don't worry about whether you yourself are practicing rightly or wrongly. Just keep knowing. Just maintain awareness. Just stay mindful. All your problems will be solved on their own. After you have progressed to a certain extent, you will find that many problems just disappear on their own, like drowsiness or scattered thoughts, etc. Mindfulness is the only fundamental of the practice. Just stay firm with mindfulness or awareness. There is no more than that. With mindfulness, the factors in codependent origination can come to their end. When you have contact with the world and have feelings, they will not produce defilement or any consequences. They just stop there if you have mindfulness. But if you do not have mindfulness, they will produce other factors. So just let the progress of codependent origination stop at the stage of feeling, and there will be nothing more. Once insight into body and mind arises, delusions appear, and the truth will reveal itself. After you have insight into body and mind, another insight will result, the understanding of conventional reality and the ultimate truth. With that, greed, hatred and delusion are reduced. You achieve insight into the three common characteristics of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and no self. Again, this will reduce greed, hatred, and delusion dramatically. These are the results of the practice. They are the insights that will occur on their own. That's why I always say that the practice of mindfulness is the perfect formula of meditation. It is perfect in every step, every stage of the practice. There is no more than that. All virtues, all teachings are included in the practice of mindfulness. Be it training in higher morality, training in higher concentration, training in higher wisdom, compassion, loving kindness, generosity, endurance, etc. These are all virtues that you have already practiced through mindfulness meditation. In fact, the key teachings or the key virtues, according to Buddhism, are just a few, just a handful. July 11, 1997. Letting go. What we are doing now is following our Master, the Supreme Master, the Buddha, who developed this meditation a long time ago. He used his body and mind as the text or scripture for studying the Dhamma through cultivating awareness of the body and mind. Apart from the body, we should also be aware of feelings, thoughts, and mind objects. Mind and body are like a sutra that covers a lot of subjects, a lot of knowledge that we should know. We are able to learn about heaven, hell, happiness, suffering, morality, concentration, and wisdom, from our body and mind through awareness cultivation. The causes of disturbances and problems in this world are in the realm of body and mind. On the other hand, the cause of peacefulness and happiness can also be found in the realm of body and mind. I need not explain more about this, but I would like to talk about the practice. The practice can be done by cultivating awareness of the body. Please try whatever techniques that can be used for awareness cultivation. Actually, what Luangpor Teean taught is very up to date, never obsolete, very modernized, and suitable for the modern age. This method is a universal one because everybody has body and mind. All of us have the same properties, regardless of nationality, language, race, gender, etc. We all have the same properties of body and mind. Just try to breathe in and breathe out with awareness. When you breathe in, be aware of that in-breath, when you breathe out, be aware of that out-breath. And we will become one. Breathe in and breathe out. Let's try breathing in and breathing out. If we have awareness, all of us will become one. Otherwise, we are different people, behaving differently in our own way. Awareness, mindfulness, or the breath, are all things we already have, so they are not difficult to practice. The awareness of breath and the awareness of the body's movement are the same. So how can we achieve awareness? Nothing can keep us from cultivating awareness. The only factor is ourselves. If we practice, awareness can be developed, it depends on us. We have already done many things, chantings, devotions, offerings, performing merits, studying scriptures, etc. Another thing that we should do is practice meditation. What Zhuangyan Monastery has done is to follow the path of the Buddha, encouraging people to practice meditation. Although not many people are interested, it is a good activity. Other Buddhist practices such as offering food to the monks, offering materials to the temples, observing the precepts, or studying the texts, are not lacking in society. What we lack is awareness. We have problems regarding the body and mind. We suffer because of body and mind. Greed, hatred, and delusion arise because we do not know how to deal with body and mind properly. For example, delusion occurs when the eyes or ears make contact with a sight or sound, and we are not aware. When you have awareness, forgetfulness and delusion just disappear. They are opposites. When awareness arises, the forgetfulness cannot stand. It just disappears. I would like to ask all of us, which, up till now in our lives, has been more powerful, awareness or forgetfulness? It is not difficult for awareness to arise if we start counting on ourselves. Buddhism starts from the individual, transforming the individual first. You need not change the environment or to ask the environment to change at the outset. So if you keep cultivating awareness, you will find the answers to your problems by yourself. The truth about body and mind will no longer exist. I would like to speak briefly for your benefit. We need to let go of everything regarding the mind. Regarding the body, we should learn how to reduce physical suffering and treat it properly. In other words, mental suffering can be reduced by letting go, but physical or bodily suffering has to be reduced by treatment. For instance, when it is hot you have to stay in the shelter and so on, because it is the physical suffering, but if it is mental suffering, you have to let it go. I would just like to encourage you to practice. This temple is a suitable place for teaching and practicing meditation. I like this place very much. We can practice or walk without mosquitoes. In my temple in Thailand, when I moved hand, I have to keep the mosquitoes away, but here it's very easy. So it is a suitable place that provides a good environment for practice. I do not know whether you benefit from this place or not, but I myself benefit a lot. My health is much better and I also have good ideas. 3 years ago, I had interesting ideas, and I put the talks into a small booklet about the Dhamma. Since my talk has to be translated, it can't be continual because I have to pause for the translation. So I only say about 50% of what I would like to. If I were to speak in my dialect I could continue my talk more easily, but that's okay, do not take it seriously. It's better to have a question and answer session. I have to go tomorrow, so this is your last chance. Question: what should I do when I have no thought during the practice, and what should I do when I am aware of my body's movements but all kinds of thoughts arise simultaneously? Answer: what you should do is be aware of the thoughts that arise, that's all. When no thoughts arise, just be aware of your body's movements. When I practice, sometimes I lose my sense of self, but when it seems that I myself have disappeared, I just touch myself to regain my sense of self. Question: with awareness, one may attain the state of no self or even reach the level of arahant. Is the eradication of the 10 fetters that an arahant should achieve, before he reaches enlightenment also possible through awareness? Answer: awareness gives rise to higher morality, higher concentration, and higher wisdom. So, the threefold training is already incorporated in the act of awareness. It depends on how much awareness we have. If the awareness is strong, it can get rid of the fetters one by one. So it depends on how strong the awareness is. The more powerful it is, the more likely it is that it can overcome or dissolve the fetters. Question: how do we enhance the changing conditions of our bodies and minds with awareness during our practice? For instance, what do we do if the mind becomes neutral? Answer: a neutral state of the mind means that the mind is ready to be happy or suffer. Just be aware of that neutral state. If it transforms into a pleasant feeling, just be aware of it. If it becomes an unpleasant feeling, just be aware of it. At the same time, if there is no thought, just recognize that there is no thought. When a thought arises, just be aware of it. You need not do anything with your mind or make it move from that state. Just practice and be aware of your body's movements, that's all. Question: is there any difference between the awareness that we are developing, and the awareness of the Buddha? Answer: they are the same. If you develop awareness to a certain point, your mind will be at the level of sustained observance, constant awareness. It is a sustained awareness, keep seeing and keep knowing all the time. This state of sustained awareness will include morality, concentration, and wisdom, and it will also enable you to see the cause of suffering. This state of awareness will lead to the cessation of suffering. So, this is the state of Buddhahood. The awareness of the Buddha is the awareness that enabled him to see the Four Noble Truths: suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path to the cessation of suffering. If you achieve the state of sustained awareness, the practice is over, you have already reached the end of the practice. I would like to encourage you to practice and train yourself to deal with mind and body properly. For example, when anger arises in your mind, just know it. Just be aware of it. Do not become lost in it or identify with it. The same applies to sufferings and even happiness. Just see it, be aware of it, do not get caught up in it. This will enable you to transcend the world. You will still live in the world and interact with people, but you will be above the influence of the world. Question: is it alright to use wisdom to penetrate greed that comes on very strong and repeatedly, instead of just being aware of it as Luangpor suggested? Answer: it is alright for you to penetrate it like that. In fact, awareness itself can be transformed into an act of penetration. If you penetrate, you can see how impermanent, unsatisfactory, and selfless greed is. Yes, it is alright. Greed is the desire to have more. If you work and get $7 an hour, you want more, $10 or $15. That is greed. But if you work and get money in return, say $7, and just concentrate on the work you do, that is not greed. Greed is a desire that arises in the mind, not the act of working to earn your living. July 12, 1997. An outline of the insight. I am just repeating an old story, because this is the old path that the Buddha walked a long time ago. It is the single path, the supreme path, that we should walk for our well-being. That which finds the path is mindfulness. Mindfulness will tell you the right path. It is the mental eye that sheds light for you while you are traveling on the path, and it will tell you whether you are walking on the right path. In fact, mindfulness is not out of the realm of body and mind. The more we are aware, the more we are able to understand the body and mind. After we are aware of the body and mind over and over, we will have insight into them. Previously, you took body and mind as yourself, as belonging to you, but once you have insight into body and mind, you see them as they really are. We use mindfulness or awareness as the eyes for us, to look into the body and mind, and the truth will manifest itself. This will enable us to understand the nature of body and mind, to see and understand why the body and mind do good or bad, to understand the sickness or the suffering of body and mind, and to see the conditions or the factors that give rise to these sufferings. It also enables us to understand the activities, the temporary state or conditions, of body and mind. These truths will manifest themselves to us. Insights occurs to us like a door that is opened. Once it is opened, we can look and see inside, and everything inside is clear to us. So, when we have insight into body and mind, the truth of body and mind will be apparent. We will see the sufferings of body and mind, and we are interested to see what else come after them. We keep seeing, and keep knowing the truth regarding body and mind, step by step. The truth just goes, and we just follow it as it opens or manifests itself to us one by one. It is like when we study and have an understanding of the subject, the understanding keeps increasing because one leads to another. Insight is like that, it expresses or manifests itself, and we just follow it. Our body is not ours. It is beyond our control, nobody can control it, and no one can be its master. It just goes on its natural way, we cannot control it. And you will see clearly if you look closely. You will be aware that feelings and sensations are constantly arising. There are feelings and sensations at every moment. Please do not think that feelings just happen when you feel tired or exhausted. They occur all the time and happen every moment. They arise and cease, continually. The continuity of sensation is like a flow. In fact, we have already suffered enough from this continuity. Moreover, we still bring other sufferings into our minds. We suffer when we are subject to old age, sickness, or death, when we experience the undesirable, when we depart from the desirable or beloved ones, or when we cannot fulfill our wishes or cannot reach our expectation. These are all conditions of life that we grasp because of our ignorance, which gives rise to more suffering. But once we know the truth, the reality, these phenomena cannot affect us. Once we know, we just let go. The knowledge which results from meditation is not just knowledge because it also transforms our lives. When we look into it, we realize the truth that is inherent in body and mind. And it just manifests itself. When the truth of body and mind is realized, our minds are transformed and our perceptions changed. When you see suffering, it manifests its reality, its nature. So, once we are aware of it, suffering is transformed into happiness, and ignorance is transformed into wisdom. Furthermore, we will understand the truth of goodness and religion. What is religion? What is the teaching? What is the truth? These are the insights we will have at this stage of practice. The insight that I mentioned is the first stage of insight, called insight into body and mind, or reality regarding body and mind. We will know once we have such insight. Luangpor Teean suggests that after we achieve such insight, we go a step further. In this step, we speed up our practice, moving our hand more quickly or walking faster. At this time, since we already have mindfulness, we don't need to create it. It is already in us. This time you use mindfulness to look into your body, your mind, your thoughts, and your emotions. This is what we call the stage of mental practice, that is, we emphasize looking at our thoughts. And this state of mental observation is the state that keeps our mind calm, because once we see the thoughts we are not shaken, disturbed, or annoyed by them. We just stay in the state of purity, or pure mind, because our minds are constant and not disturbed by any thoughts. We call this stage, since the mind is normal, the state of sila, morality, the perfection of sila, because sila in Pali means constant, or normal. Since our mind is not disturbed, shaken, or moved by any thoughts, it is called concentration. And since the insight enables us to see what is right and what is wrong, this is wisdom. At this stage we have achieved the threefold training. And this threefold training can eradicate defilement. If the mind is calm, it is like still water. It's good. If the mind is shaken or disturbed by thoughts, it's comparable to rippling water. Calmness and irritation are both states of mind. The water is not the waves are not the water. A wave is just the condition or a temporary state of the water, not its real nature. The same applies to mind. Anger is not mind. It's just a condition of mind, a temporary state. Some people mistake anger as mind or take anger as self. Once anger arises, these people become lost in their thoughts, saying to themselves, if I can express my anger, I would not regret it even if I have to die. They become lost in the anger, taking it to be self. During your practice, you may experience drowsiness or sometimes have no thoughts at all. These are just temporary states of mind that arise and then disappear, passing through our minds and then fading away. If we stay aware and keep looking, keep being aware of our thoughts, we will see that these are just temporary states of mind, and we will be able to differentiate between objects and their temporary states. When we hear the noise of a drum, or the noise of a machine, these are objects. But when they disturb our minds, such disturbance is a temporary state of mind or mental condition. So just keep practicing awareness, and it will enable you to see the nature of objects, and the reality of the temporary states of things, of objects, of body and mind. In fact, there are more details than that, but I just want to give you a sketch or outline of the insight that will occur in this second stage of the practice. Those who achieve this stage may experience joy, bliss, or rapture, since one is single-minded. I just want you to understand this stage so you won't be careless. One monk, after being absorbed in the bliss of this stage, thought that he would not be attacked by the snakes in the forest. So he just walked to his cottage in the forest at night without using torchlight, because he believed that the cobras numerous in his temple would not bite him. He was wrong. Do not be lost in that pleasant feeling or quality. In this second stage of insight, as I told you, you will be able to see and understand conventional reality or conventional truth, objects, and the temporary state of objects. The objects that I mentioned are both internal and external. The internal objects are the eyes, ears, tongue, nose, body, and mind. The external objects are signs or forms, noise or sound, taste, odor, touch, and mind objects. You will understand that whatever happens to these objects are just their temporary states, not their real nature. So, once you know that, you will have an understanding of reality. Whatever happens to you, insight, or the truth, will tell you what to do. Whatever obstacles or difficulties you may experience in your life or in your mind, even if they are hindrances or negative feelings in your mind, the insight into body and mind will rush to help you, and you will get over them, overcoming them easily. You will go straight through them. The second stage of insight, the differentiation between objects and the temporary states of objects, will rush to help you. The insight into the three common characteristics of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and no self, will also accompany you and come to your rescue. That's how you can go through your problems without many difficulties. Awareness enables us to see good and bad, to see happiness and suffering, to see calmness and drowsiness. Once you see it, just see it. Do not get into it or identify with it. I would like to put awareness into a nutshell and give it to all of you, so that you can apply it to your daily lives. Awareness itself is enough. It is the essence or the heart of the practice, and it will enable you to be born of the Dhamma, to be born of the truth. You can be a monk on your own. In our chanting, there is a word in Pali, Saddhammasho. Saddhammasho means that the monks, or the Sangha, are born of the Dhamma, of the realization of the truth. So, if you have realized the truth and your life is born of the truth, you are already a monk or a part of the Sangha, the noble community. Awareness is the only fundamental for the practice that we can rely upon. In the beginning, we start our practice with mindfulness. In the middle or in the process, we depend on mindfulness or awareness. In the end, the goal or the destination is still mindfulness. So, mindfulness is not only the path but also the goal. Mindfulness shows us the path, the proper path, to live our lives. And this enables our minds to be transformed, or born of the Dhamma. That is why I say, you can be a monk, a bhikkhu, a real bhikkhu, not just one in uniform. If you look at the time of the Buddha, a lot of his disciples became enlightened first, or in my words became monks first, and then were ordained by the Buddha. Almost half of the great disciples of the Buddha attained enlightenment before receiving ordination. That's why I said that we can be monks if our minds are born of Dhamma, or if our minds are supported or sustained by Dhamma. You need not have a robe like me to be a monk or a bhikkhu. It is normal that awareness at this stage can be regressive. But once you arrive at a certain stage, it will stay unchanged. At this stage, you have to continue your training until you arrive at the stage where you need not train yourself anymore. Asakha means the state of mind that requires no further training. Those who arrive at the state of asakha, the state of mind that requires no more training, have reached the state of arahant. What Luangpor is chanting are the verses that the Buddha preached to his mother in heaven. That's all for now. I would like to say goodbye to all of you. July 13, 1997. Spiritual Tips for Meditators. Part 2. By Propizan Vizalo. Means and Ends of Meditation. Since I would like you to take this opportunity to listen and learn from Luangpor Teean, I will not take much time. I will just speak a little bit to comply with his request. Later, you can request him to share more or answer your questions. I think what Luangpor Teean said is fundamental to the Buddhist teachings. He stresses mindfulness. It is very important to practice mindfulness, for it is the heart of Buddhist meditation. When speaking about meditation, we have to bear in mind that there are many kinds of meditation, both formal and informal. In fact, meditation is not an exotic method that has to be imported from the East. Meditation is what we have already experienced, what we have already practiced, whether we are aware of it or not. When you see nature, when you look quietly into yourself, when you reflect on your life, that is meditation. When you try to follow your breath with an expectation of calmness, that is meditation. Meditation can be practiced through drawing, painting, or music. So meditation is what we have already experienced to a certain extent. But, to make our meditation beneficial, fruitful, and worthy of our attempts and the time we spend, the shortest way, according to Buddhism, is to cultivate mindfulness. That is, meditation with awareness. Awareness is the means and end of meditation, and nothing else. For some people, meditation is the way to calmness, but for the Buddha, calmness should only be the byproduct of meditation. It is the reward that we gain from our practice. Yet, we also want to have total self-awareness. Self-awareness, or knowing oneself, is very important, as Luangpor mentioned earlier. According to the Buddha, to know oneself is to liberate our minds from suffering. We are overcome by grief or sorrow and suffer because we are not aware of ourselves. If we become aware, we can see clearly that we are carried away by greed, by anger, by anxiety. Once we become aware of ourselves, mindfulness is established. Once mindfulness is established, it is not easy for sorrow, anger, ill will, or greed to sneak into our minds. Guarding our minds with mindfulness is the secret of removing suffering. Normally, we are not aware of this truth, but if you reflect on yourself, you will realize that the best way to clear your mind from suffering is to make your mind neutral, to maintain your mind in the middle. If we let our minds be subject to feelings of being pleased or displeased, like or dislike, rejection or attachment, our minds will never experience calmness or clarity. With mindfulness, calmness and clarity are possible. So with the formal practice of the Buddha, we can learn how to cultivate mindfulness, enabling us to be free from being all sorts of fire. The Buddha speaks about fire. There are three kinds of fire that burn us at every moment, every day, every hour, every minute: the fire of greed, the fire of hatred, and the fire of ignorance. The fire of greed or the fire of desire, be it sensual desire or desire for becoming, always burns our mind, and that make us feel as thought we are lacking. It is quite strange that the sense of lacking is prevalent in Western societies. Despite the material richness, despite the abundance, people are overwhelmed by the sense of lack. They may have a lot of things in their houses, they may have a lot of money in their bank accounts, they may have success in their careers, but people still feel that they lack something. That is why they try to gain more and more, consciously or unconsciously. Mindfulness is very effective at stimulating the knowing element in our minds, the conscious element in our minds. It not only helps us to be awake but also brings calmness, which leads to clarity. And once our minds become clear, insight into the nature of mind is possible. That is why mindfulness is very important. June 8, 1997. The art of meditation. You may have noticed the relationship between body and mind during your practice. They affect each other and we should make the best of them for our practice. You may have observed that when you are upset or mentally tense, your breath may become shallow or you may have chest or leg pain. If you understand this relationship, you can learn how to relax your mind by controlling certain parts of your body. For example, breathing deeply can help you relax. If you want to gain or to attain a desirable of mind, You cannot force the mind directly, but you can condition it by making your body more conducive to the state of mind. The mind is uncontrollable, but it can be conditioned indirectly, by either the body or external surroundings. For example, if you are in this room, you may feel drowsy, but if you go outside, you are refreshed because of the open air, the open space. The drowsiness disappears. That is the relationship between external surroundings and the mind. Use this knowledge of the relationship to the benefit of your mind. If you sit upright during sitting meditation, for example, it is easier for the mind to collect, to concentrate, and to be calm, but if you lean against a wall, you may be sleeping. If you feel very tense, lying down will be helpful, but if you feel normal, lying down will make you sleepy. This is the relationship between body and mind. Please learn how to take advantage of this relationship to improve your practice. During walking meditation, for example, if you feel distracted or your mind becomes busy and wanders without end, walking more slowly can slow your mind. Your mind will be less distracted. The speed of your walk can affect your mind. If you feel tense because of your inward attitude, your mind turns to look inward, stopping the thinking process. In this case, walking faster can help to release the tension. The position of your head also affects your mind. As I told you a few days ago, if you lower your head too much, tension tends to arise because your mind is turning inward. But, if you walk and have an indefinite gaze outward, your mind wanders easily and can be easily distracted. So, positioning your head appropriately will moderate your mind. You have to find the speed that is appropriate for you, not too fast, not too slow. This is an art. Meditation becomes an art because you have to find the balance on your own. If you walk too slowly, your mind becomes tense because it looks inward and concentrate too much on the body and on the thinking process, so you have to speed up. There are two extremes. One is to wander a lot distractedly, and the other extreme is to take it very seriously, to push oneself very hard, trying to stop or to suppress the thought. The one just follows the thoughts, the other wants to stop the thoughts. These are the two extremes. In this practice, we neither stop nor follow the thoughts. But how? This is the point of balance. I myself have to adapt. When I feel tense in my legs, I walk slowly. If I walk any faster, I cannot get through the 7 days retreat. Normally, I do not practice the intensive retreat for the whole week, just for a whole day. The rest of the week I do it indirectly and then I may do something else. But to practice 7 days, we have to learn how to do it without being exhausted. It is like marathon walking. If you push yourself very hard at the first kilometer or on the first day, the rest of the days will be disastrous. You have to know how to save your energy so you can go through the whole retreat or marathon. There is no one standard or formula for everybody. You have to find your own way. If you feel tense, it is better for you to look far to relax. When I first practiced, I look inward so much during the first 3 weeks that I developed a lot of problems. I could not raise my hands or sleep because I tried to suppress my thoughts. I had to cure myself. To turn my mind outward, I had to look at a specific point, during my walking meditation for almost 3 weeks before I felt better. I think for me to look forward, to look far, is good in that situation, but after that I have never used the method again. Now I just look down on the floor but not too much. Luangpor just said, feel relaxed, and just be aware, but I did not know how to apply his teaching to my situation. I think what Luangpor said about the balance is very important. To be aware is to be on the middle ground between following your thoughts and suppressing them. I like to compare awareness to an egg. If you hold an egg tightly, it will break, but if you do not hold it, it will fall. So, you need to hold the egg firmly but not too tightly. For awareness to be possible, you have to handle gently, as if you are holding an egg. If you force your mind to concentrate, to stop thinking, to achieve something better, or whatever, you are going to crush the egg. But if you feel completely relaxed and do not take it seriously, it is like dropping the egg. So, in this method of practice, just hold your mind gently. It is how to do this that is the problem. Nobody can tell you. You have to know how to gauge and how to adapt your mind. It is like riding a bicycle, you have to hold your body in balance. If you are stiff, holding the handles of the bicycle very tightly, your whole body becomes tense and you will fall. So, bicycle riding is the art of keeping your body as well as your mind in balance. The same goes for meditating. You have to hold your mind in balance, neither too relaxed nor too tense. How to reach this point is the art of the meditator, and this is the problem. When I first practiced, I found it difficult to reach this point because normally we tend to be at one of the extremes, either forcing ourselves or just letting things loose. For the practitioner to arrive this point, one needs to have experience with oneself and learn by oneself. If you arrive this way and know what the middle ground is between the two extremes, you will find it easy to practice without tension. You will be able to work the whole day without a problem. At the same time, you will be able to effectively handle undesirable thoughts. Previously, when we had distracted thoughts or a scattered mind, we responded to in one of two ways, either following it or suppressing it. But if we know the middle way, we will find that just acknowledging our mental condition, just noticing the thought that arises, it will disappear or fade away, without our having to make an attempt to suppress it. In order to reach this point, our attitude is very important. If we want to achieve calmness, to develop mindfulness, or to gain something, we tend to suppress our thoughts. We do not want to be distracted, so we try by all means to stop distractions, thus bringing ourselves lots of problems, mentally and physically. So, just take it easy. Attitude is very important. To take it easy does not mean that you do not make any effort, but rather, practicing the whole day and making lots of attempts. The point is how to make such attempts without having anything to gain. You came here and you must have been motivated by some expectations. But once you start working, once you start raising your hands, you have to ignore whatever brings you here. If you want something during your practice, that means your mind is in the future, not in the present. To practice here is to make our minds present here and now. Mindfulness is the presence of mind. To live your life mindfully means you have to make your mind present in everything you do. When you are watching, your mind is there. When you are walking, your mind is there. When you are taking a bath, your mind is there. That is mindfulness, or the presence of mind. You may wonder how to practice mindfulness while asleep. It depends on how you cultivate mindfulness when you are awake. If you are mindful most of the day, it will take care of itself during your sleep. You will learn that your dreams can be affected by mindfulness. Even consciousness plays a role in your dreams to a certain extent. They are not totally unconscious. They depend on the mindfulness that you have already developed. So, just take care during your waking hours, because it is the period of the day that we can control. It took me about a month to find the middle ground, but I am a bad example. Many people spend about a week to find it. For me, I feel that tension is the indicator of whether I am practicing right or wrong. If I am tense, it means I am practicing the wrong way. After 1 month, I was aware of my thoughts very quickly, which was a surprising experience for me. Sometimes, even now after being a monk for more than 10 years, I practice and I feel tense, which means I am too serious, so I know I have to relax my mind a little bit. I still get tense from time to time, not always at the balanced state, but at least I know how much I have to relax to reach the middle ground. It will be a point you are familiar with. You may get tense, but when you feel relaxed to a certain point, you will know that this is the middle ground for you. You have to find it yourself. Nobody can tell you where it is. There are many indicators for us to be sure whether we have developed enough awareness or not. Sometimes one has a lot of distractions. The mind can become busy, but if you acknowledge the thought very quickly and notice when it occurs, you are aware. Also, to be aware does not mean that you have to be calm. In some situations, the mind is supposed to perform its functions and it is difficult to be calm. As long as you notice that your mind is distracted, it is all right. That is why Luangpor said, do not try to be undistracted, but once you are distracted, you are aware. Once your mind goes out, you are aware. The point is your awareness of your state of mind and knowing it quickly. For a lot of people, meditation time is only the time when they sit cross-legged and close their eyes. Afterwards, they go to work, and cannot think of meditation. Meditation is limited to the room, in the morning and in the evening. But for us, the meditation zone means trying to make the whole day, or a certain period of the day, a time for meditation, even though you do not close your eyes and are still at work. It should start at a portion of the day, and then enlarge its zone. The more you are aware of every moment, the more meditation is a part of your daily life. It does not mean that only the time inside a meditation hall is meditation, and the rest is not. It should start from the meditation room and then enlarge to your whole life. Enlarge the zone in time first and then enlarge it in space as well. Try to integrate meditation into your daily activities. Try to use the movement of your body as meditation objects all the time, and try not to stay still. On the car or the bus, rub your fingers. Try to have some parts of your body moving and use the movement of your body. If you can use your breath as meditation object, you have a refined, sensitive mind. Yes, you can do that, too. Luangpor suggests using the blinking of your eyes or the swallowing of your saliva. Breathing is useful because you do it all the time, especially at night when lying in bed. But while typing, it may be difficult to be aware of your breath, so just be aware of the typing itself as the object of meditation. When you take a bath, the movement of your body is the object of meditation. So we are never short of an object of meditation, except when we are sleeping. That is the benefit of Sathi meditation, you have an object all the time. We need to have a physical object for meditation all the time, and our body is better. Your mind should be aware of your body's movement. Once a thought arises, your mind goes to the thought, acknowledges it, and then returns. So you have a home. Meditation provides you with a home that is the object of meditation and your mind stays with it. The movement of your body is the present moment. To be mindful is to be present in the present moment, so we try to provide a present moment for the mind, the body's movement. When you become distracted by a thought, that is the present moment too, so the mind should be mindful, but since the thought is undesirable, we just let it go and come back to another present moment, your body's movement. It is okay to shift awareness from one type of your body's movement to another frequently if you are skillful. If you are an adept practitioner, it is not difficult to shift. Try not to practice only two postures, because if you practice only walking and sitting, you may find it difficult when you want to be aware of additional activities. You will not be adept enough to apply mindfulness to that activity, because you have only been using rhythmic meditation and walking meditation all the time. So, you have to be adept, to be skillful, to apply mindfulness to every area of life. For example, in a normal situation, I would use the rubbing of my fingers as an object, but, if I am tired, I can concentrate on my breath because it will turn my attention away from the tiredness of my fingers. It is the same with walking. If I walk or climb up a mountain, at a certain point, I shift my awareness to the breath because my legs feel tired. This is the way to release tension. You can shift from one to another. In Thai, we called it a toy or hobby. We change from our routine to a hobby, and then we change back again. To make meditation more entertaining, we find something strange, something special, something new to play with, and then after we feel we have had enough, we return to the main posture. Please try to apply mindfulness to another postures or activities, not only in daily life but in the retreat too. When I practiced with Luangpor Teean, sometimes he asked me to clean the floor. He gave me a broom and asked me to be aware when I was doing that job. He wanted me to not stick to the two main postures. During the first few minutes, I felt disturbed, unable to be mindful of the work, because I had limited my activities to only two postures, and did not know how to apply mindfulness to that work. But later I knew. In Luangpor's retreat, he also likes people to stay with sitting and walking, but he will provide you with some work to do like cleaning the toilet, because he wants us to be skillful in every activity, otherwise you will not be able to apply it to other activities after the retreat. July 9, 1997. The middle ground. As you already know, we are training our mind to reach the middle ground, that is between the outward-oriented mind and the inward-oriented mind. Do not try to turn your mind too much outward or too much inward, to follow your thoughts or to stop them. The middle ground also means trying to avoid being lazy due to being too relaxed, or being strained due to too much tension. It also means that we have to avoid the two extremes of indulging in pleasure and indulging in pain. What does it mean by that, indulging in pain or indulging in pleasure? It means that when you recall a good memory or refreshing images you get high, and when you recall unpleasant feelings in the past, a bad memory, you get low. If you are moved like that, that means you are already indulging in pleasure or pain. If you are stuck in the pleasant feeling, that means you are indulging in pleasure, which is one extreme. If you get low or become angry, because of your thoughts about somebody that you have bad experiences with, you become dragged down by such thoughts or memories, or if you feel upset because of dissatisfaction with your practice, means that you are indulging in pain. So, to avoid these two extremes means try to keep your mind normal, stable, and unmoved by pleasant or unpleasant feelings, good or bad thoughts, good or bad mental experiences. So, you see that the term middle ground means balanced. It has a broad meaning. It means that you do not follow the thought or suppress the thought, turn your mind too much outward or too much inward, be lazy or push yourself too hard, or indulge in pleasure or in pain. It is the art of meditation to keep our minds in balance, to reach the middle ground. You may feel it is very difficult to attain this state of mind, even though you have come closer to it. Sometimes, you have already attained that balance, but you may be dissatisfied with it. You do not realize that you have already arrived at the middle ground, so you push yourself harder and go beyond that point, moving towards another extreme. Sometimes, your mind is too much inward so you try to relax, but you relax so much that you pass the state of balance, wasting a lot of time. Sometimes, you do not think this is the point that you need to attain. You think, oh, this is not the state of awareness because so many thoughts are still coming up, so I have to push myself harder. You are not satisfied with that state of mind simply because you have some expectation, so you keep passing the state of balanced mind without realizing that you have already experienced it. I think expectations are sometimes illusory. They are dangerous because they can deceive us, so we have to be very careful. We have some expectation about awareness, so we have already adjusted our mind to the expected state of awareness. Since we do not feel the calmness that we expected, and we feel thoughts still arising, we keep ignoring this state of balanced mind. I am sure that you have already experienced the state of awareness, the state of balanced mind, even though you may not realize it. So try again that you may find it and have confidence in it. Another point that I would like to mention is that, aside from keeping our mind in balance between the two extremes, we also need another art, the art of reconciling two opposing values. We face conflicts in our daily lives between freedom and discipline, between diligence and concentration. If you are too diligent, your mind becomes distracted, but if you concentrate too much, you tend to be lazy. The point is how to reconcile these two opposing values. Right and duty are another pair of values that we have to reconcile. Individualism and communalism are also two opposing values that we have to reconcile or our lives will suffer. We also face the same dilemma in meditation practice. It may be even more difficult than what I have already mentioned. One is to take it easy but to try hard. Luangpor always stresses this: relax. Take it easy, but try hard. Take it easy but keep trying all day. It is quite contradictory, but you have to reconcile these two or you cannot make progress. Luangpor Teean always said, take it easy, but seriously. Luangpor Teean, unlike Luangpor Teean, would give you only a 5-minute talk. At his interview, which lasted less than 5 minutes, he kept saying we should take it easy but seriously, or take it easy but do it all day. I was quite confused then, but now I understand what he meant. I think this is the kind of training that is very useful for our daily lives, because it is the art of working happily and more effectively. To be happy and to be effective is a pair of values that may seem to oppose each other, but that can be reconciled. During the practice, you have to learn not to expect anything, to just work. If there is too much distraction, that is okay. If you suffer, that is okay. If you are frustrated, that is okay. You have to learn this attitude, because if you want to gain something, to attain calmness, to be aware of your thoughts as quickly as possible, you will be inclined to keep turning your mind inward trying to suppress your thoughts. You will keep watching your thoughts all the time and end up ignoring the awareness of your body. Luangpor always emphasizes that we should grasp our awareness of the body, and ignore our thoughts first. But normally, in my experience, I seldom remembered this instruction. I tried to stop my thoughts, to suppress them, because I wanted to win. I did not have much time, so I wanted to attain the result as soon as possible and I got stuck. After 3 weeks, I could not practice anymore. I could not do the hand postures because once I moved my hands, after only a few minutes, I got a headache and I suffered. With a headache and a lot of pain, I could not sleep. I made a vow to practice with Luangpor Teean for 1 month, and 3 weeks had already passed with only 1 week left. Feeling hopeless, I decided that I would leave the temple after I finished that week. So I just walked without any expectations, just waiting for my time to finish. I just kept walking because I could not do anything else. That week was very good for me because once I did not have any expectations, did not have any hopes, and just walked to waste the time, just trying to ease my tension to turn my mind from inward to outward, I felt that mindfulness suddenly developed a lot, because I did not mind anymore. June 11, 1997. Practice independently. The truth, I think, you have to see it. You have to see the truth for yourself. If I tell you, it will not be your truth, but an academic or indirect experience. I suggest you not use your intellect to find the truth but direct experience, you must realize it by yourself. Sati, or mindfulness, is a capacity of mind to recall. When you walk in meditation, you think about your work next month, the body walks but the mind goes somewhere else. Then, you recall that you are supposed to be mindful while walking. That is mindfulness. When your mind comes back to walk, you feel the sensation of walking and have clear comprehension. That is awareness. It is very important for us to try to experience awareness directly. It is also a capacity of the mind. One cannot experience awareness through thought or the intellect, for it is beyond the realm of intellect. You have to experience it directly with your feelings. We use a lot of thought, a lot of intellect, but rarely the faculty of feelings or awareness. When you want to touch something, you have to touch it with the hand, not the glove. Intellectualizing awareness is like touching something through gloves, it is not awareness, not a direct touching with your mind. I would like to recommend you to practice independently. Independent of what? First, be independent of time. When you walk or practice, do not worry about the time. Some practitioners set the time, saying they will walk or sit for 1 hour. Then they set the clock in front of them. This will make hell out of their practice because they are concerned about the time, whether they have completed the hour or not. Even with 30 minutes left, they still worry. They are anxious about when they will reach the hour. Do not worry about the time or the clock, practice without any references, allowing your mind to get in touch with mindfulness or awareness. Sometimes you are also concerned about other people. Why does this person walk so quickly? Why does she walk so slowly? If you keep asking and comparing yourself with other people, you will not be sure whether it is good for you to walk slowly or quickly. That is why you should practice independently, unconcerned with other people. You have to find your own way, the suitable speed or suitable pace for yourself. Everybody has his or her own way of practice. Please ignore what the other people do, just be concerned with yourself. Another thing that may cause you anxiety is the notion of awareness, or the concept of mindfulness. You have some idea about awareness or mindfulness. When your experience does not fit with that notion or idea, you feel unhappy, you feel uncertain, you feel unsure about the practice. Please forget whatever notions you may have about mindfulness or awareness, even words by the master, or the teachers. The master said that awareness is like this, and mindfulness is like that. You become attached to these words. When your experience does not fit with these words or ideas, you feel unhappy. When I first practiced, I was confused. Somebody said you have to be aware like this, but the other master said you have to be aware like that. I was bewildered. Which one is the real awareness? It is difficult to explain what awareness is like. You cannot convey awareness by words, but have to know it from your experiences. This is true even of color. When you see this robe, you know exactly what color it is, but to express it out loud people use different words. Somebody says this is yellow, but others claim it is orange. Different people use different expressions even for the same thing. Please ignore these references. The fourth thing to be independent of is the previous results that you may have obtained. Yesterday, you experienced calmness, you achieved wonderful practice, and then you want your practice right now to be the same. That is another kind of reference that you should avoid. If you have such references or if you are concerned with past results, you may be unhappy. They will never fit with one another. Ignore the results of the past and start again at the present moment. Practice independently, independent of previous results. It is already the past, let us ignore it. However good your experience was, be it calmness or tranquility, do not try to repeat it again or you will be disappointed. Why? Because you have some expectation, and expectation makes your mind out of balance. To practice like this, balance is crucial. You have to keep your mind in balance. Desire or expectation tends to push your mind out of balance. Therefore, forget whatever happened to you, even your expectations. Be careful with expectation. When you expect something, you have preconceived notions about it. If experience does not conform with that idea, you reject the experience. There is a story that is very instructive. An individual on a sinking boat prayed to God for help. Being very devout and sincere, he sincerely believed that God would help those who have faith in him. During his prayer, a lifeboat came by and asked him to join. He said, "No, I believe God will help me, because he never ignores those who have faith in him." So, the lifeboat left him behind. 1 hour later, the sea level was already at his chest. A fisher's boat came. He said, "No. God will help me." Another hour later, the sea level was already up to his neck. A patrol boat came. He replied again, "No." So, he drowned and went to heaven because he was a good person. When he met God, he asked, "God, why did you forsake me? I prayed for you even at the time of crisis." God replied, "You fool. I sent 3 boats to help you. Why didn't you take the boat?" The man expected a miracle. In reality, no miracles happen. God's action is not miracle, he works through ordinary events. So, with expectation, the person tried to reject even the help of God. Do not be too concerned with expectations, or you will reject the experience that you have already achieved. Just work independently of expectation, and try to get in touch with real awareness through direct experience. When you get a result, it will be the true outcome of your practice. Do not bother with miracles or preconceived expectations. Question: how can you forget everything and not have any expectations or references? Answer: it can be done through repetition. In the first hour it may not be easy to forget, but if you practice more and more, you will feel in harmony with the practice, and then this notion will pass away. Nevertheless, you have to do it repeatedly, over and over again. Then, a new kind of habit will develop, the habit of letting go and forgetting expectations. Question: that is very, very hard. Answer: it is possible, if you try to be at the present moment. I found that when I feel in harmony with the practice, I do not care about the rest. To be in harmony with the practice takes time, but it is possible. We call it, to be at the present moment. When you have developed that habit of being at the present moment, you will be less distracted by expectations, by time or schedules, by other people's practice. Question: are you suggesting that we totally ignore previous experience on how to get there? Answer: I suggest you do that when you start the practice. However, when you finish, you may review and think about which one is the way. During the practice, try to be at the present moment, otherwise, your previous results will distract you from the practice. Question: when we start the practice again, we will take reference of the previous experience, right? Then, how can you practice independently? Answer: a kind of habit will develop within you. Question: right, I see what you mean, inherit a habit from the previous practice instead of knowledge. Answer: yes. It has already happened to you, because all of you have been practicing for a long time. You have inherited some habits or some tendencies. That is the most important, more important than something in your mind. Question: not to be guided by thought, but by your natural movement or habit. Answer: yes. This is what we call adept or skillful. You become more skillful. Take swimming for example. Thinking, or recalling the instructions, does not help you much when you are swimming. You have to be at the very present moment. Whatever you do will become a tendency or habit in you. Once you know how to swim, it becomes your second nature. It becomes a part of you. No matter how much time has passed, maybe 10 years, you still know how to swim because it has become your nature. I think mindfulness or practice is like that. Once you know how to adapt your mind to be aware of the present moment, it becomes your nature. You may give up the practice for a while, then come back. In the beginning it is difficult, but after you practice for a few minutes, it will come back. Which I call habit. I myself, when I practice, never think much of the results. I think only that this will form a new habit. Once the habit has developed, it is easier to practice. This is how you train children to take a bath or to brush their teeth. At first, they refuse, but you just push them to brush their teeth. It becomes their nature and they will go to the bathroom to brush their teeth on their own. Mindfulness is like that. In the beginning, your mind follows the thoughts and never comes back. Then, you call it back. Second time, it goes again, following the thoughts and comes back. The third time, it comes back quickly, faster, but still takes a long time. Then, you call it back all the time, many times, it returns faster and faster. The unintentional thought will become shorter and shorter. In the beginning, it is like a train of thoughts with 12 cars of thoughts. After practicing for a few days, it becomes 10 cars. The train of thoughts becomes shorter, shorter, and shorter. Then, only 1 car of thoughts, because your mind becomes faster. It is the habit of the mind to come back faster. This is what mindfulness is. You need not to stop the thoughts. Your mind will come back on its own. July 8, 1997. Harmony within. Meditation practice is to train ourselves to be in harmony with ourselves, or to be in harmony with the present moment. To be in harmony with the present moment has a broad meaning. It means that we have to be content with what we have, with what we are doing, and also with what we are at the present moment. To go deeper than that, it means to be content, accepting the thoughts or emotions that we have at the present moment. To accept does not mean that you are lost, or follow the thoughts. That is not acceptance. Accepting means keeping our mind normal, not reaching to the thoughts whatever they may be. This is the only way to free our mind from all kinds of thoughts or emotions. Whether they are positive or negative thoughts, pleasant or unpleasant emotions, agreeable or disagreeable feelings, just observe them and learn to come to terms with them. People, in general, are likely to react to the thoughts or emotions that they have. To be precise, they are not reacting, but attached, or clinging, to the emotions or thoughts that arise, even unpleasant feelings. It may sound strange, but we do cling to unpleasant feelings or emotions. You may have noticed that when we experience anger, we never try to let it go. We keep recalling the incident that causes us anger, and keep reminding ourselves about the behavior of that person that upset us. We cling to that negative emotion or experience and never try to let go of it. We may want to, but we never try. We just cling to it, grasping the anger, the anxiety, or whatever. Thus we cannot sleep at night, because we keep thinking about this and that despite the fact that they are unpleasant feelings, emotions, events, or experiences. That is why I say we cling to it. We do not accept it the way it is, but cling to it. That is what the Buddha called indulging in pain or indulging in suffering. In the first sermon of the Buddha, he mentioned two extremes, indulging in pain and indulging in pleasure. Buddha advised us to avoid these two extremes. To indulge in pain does not mean that we torture ourselves as the Buddha did, when he tried to attain enlightenment through ascetic behavior. He refused food and slept on nails. That is indulging in pain, but all of us never do that. Still, we indulge in another kind of pain, mental pain. When anger arises, we are lost in anger. When anxiety arises, we are caught up in anxiety. We grasp it, grasping anger, clinging to anxiety. This is indulging in pain. We have already fallen into the extremes that the Buddha suggests we avoid. The same applies to indulging in pleasure. Normally, people think that to indulge in pleasure means indulging in sensual pleasure, like a playboy, to have new spouses, to enjoy themselves in the casinos, theaters, nightclubs, etc. Yet, you have already experienced indulging in pleasure mentally. When pleasant feelings arise in your mind, you cling to them and enjoy them, do you not? We are always caught up in the agreeable emotions and feel content with them. This is indulging in pleasure, another extreme that the Buddha instructed us to avoid. You may have realized that you have already indulged in those extremes during your practice. That is not the middle way that the Buddha suggests we traverse. The middle way, in this sense, means not losing yourself in either painful or pleasant experience, be it calmness, happiness, suffering, anger, or anxiety. Do not become lost in those feelings or emotions. Just accept them as they are. When pleasant feelings or good thoughts arise in your mind, you tend to follow it, do you not? When you encounter unpleasant feelings, you want to suppress them, do you not? But that is not an act of acceptance. To accept means to observe, to see, to recognize, and to let go of it. This is the only way to be free from all kinds of feelings or thoughts. I would like to urge you to learn how to come to terms with all kinds of thoughts and emotions that arise. You will find that once you accept them, once you observe them, they will gradually pass away. This is the best way to let go of them, the best way to liberate ourselves from them, the best way to get rid of them. Not to stop them, but to observe them, and they will gradually be dissolved. This is the middle way that the Buddha suggests, to indulge neither in pain nor in pleasure. Not only in the physical or sensual aspects, but also in the more delicate mental aspect. This is the aspect or level that people always fall into, without realizing that it is not the middle way the Buddha suggests. Is it clear to you? Just to elaborate what Luangpor said, to see, but not to identify with it. If you identify with it, you have already indulged in both pleasure and pain. Just see it as it really is, do not be overjoyed or upset by pleasant or unpleasant feelings. This will keep our minds stable. That is what we call accepting the way we are in the present moment, and being in harmony with the present moment. That's all for this morning. Thoughts always trick you or make a fool of you. They need your attention, as a child always asks for his mother's attention. They are very clever and have many tricks to fool you, to draw your attention. Persuading you, the thought says, come. Come talk with me. Come join me. Come interact with me. In the beginning, you may think that you know their tricks, but their tricks are endless. When I practice, I say to the thoughts, no, I will not interact with you. Whatever thoughts arise, I will turn my back on you. Yet, they have many new tricks to make a fool of me. Sometimes they ask, hey, why don't we think about the Dhamma? Investigating Dhamma is good, isn't it? So I jump into the thoughts, and later realize, oh, I fell into your trap again. That's all right. You should try to have strong will. Sometimes you have very beautiful and excellent ideas. You may think about the glorious past, a beautiful moment in the past, or somebody whom you would like to talk with. The thoughts will try to persuade you to interact with them, but you should have strong determination to resist their temptation. In the beginning, it may be difficult. With the support from mindfulness, with the strength of mindfulness, you will feel it increasingly easier to ignore the call or temptation of the thoughts. Later, you will find that it becomes your natural response because, after a period of practice, the temptations of the thoughts become less enticing and less powerful. Why do they become less powerful? Because the thoughts become shorter and shorter. In the beginning the thoughts are long, like a train of thoughts. Gradually, the thoughts become shorter, shorter and shorter. The shorter a thought is, the less powerful it is. That is why you will find it increasingly easier to turn your back on them, and accept them the way they are. Once a thought arises, do not bother with it. Just see it and say to yourself, that's the way it is. Whatever the thoughts or feelings arise, be they good or bad, wholesome or unwholesome, just see them without being disturbed or annoyed by them. Yet, in the beginning, you may feel upset with yourself, because you never realized that bad thoughts or evil ideas could arise in you. Some desire will come up, and you will have never realized that you could have such bad ideas, such evil thoughts. But, it will arise. If you are mindful enough, you will accept it. That's the way it is. Gradually the equanimity arises. So I suggest you maintain the attitude of acceptance. Whatever ideas, whatever thoughts, whatever emotions occur in your mind, just try to keep them normal and have no preferences, like or dislike, appreciation or aversion. Try to avoid these two extremes, and just accept them the way they are. This is the second mantra I would like to present to you, that's the way it is. The bad thoughts that arise, the evil ideas that arise, are beyond your control. So, just accept them as natural, as normal. That's the way it is. Thus develop the indiscriminative mind. The ordinary mind tends to be judgmental. It always judges, this is good, that is bad, this idea is good, that idea is bad, I like this idea, I do not like that idea, I am content with these emotions, I am not content with those emotions. With a discriminating mind you will never experience peacefulness. Your mind will go up and down, because of such preferences or such judgmental mind. The way to attain peace is to develop the indiscriminative mind. Have no preferences or judgment, and see everything as it really is. Accept it as the natural process that occurs to your mind. They are just visitors, coming and going. No matter how good or bad the idea is, any kind of idea, just let it come and go, appear and disappear. Do not be bothered with it. Just see it, take note of it, and then come back, returning your attention to the body's movement. In brief, try to resist the temptations of the thoughts. They need your attention because that's the only way they can sustain themselves. Unless you give them your attention, they cannot survive. They can exist only with your support. If you do not pay attention to them, they will just pass away. This is the best way to handle the emotions. Do not suppress them, stop thinking, nor force your mind to drop these thoughts. Just say to yourself, when the thoughts arise, that's the way it is. July 9, 1997. Calmness and insight. There are two words that Luangpor always mentions, mindfulness and awareness. Both are like twins. They are interchangeable, help each other, and always come together. Mindfulness is that which recalls. For example, you are moving your hands, but you forget that you are doing it because your mind is distracted. Then, you remember that you should be attentive to your hand movement. That capacity to recall is mindfulness. Mindfulness recalls and brings your mind back to the action of your hands. When your mind is attentive to your hands, or to any activity, you become aware of your body, aware of yourself. This is awareness. Once you are aware of any activity, you know what should be done as far as that activity is concerned. This is clear comprehension, another function of awareness. When you are aware of an object and attentive to it, your mind becomes increasingly collected and composed, thus enhancing concentration. Awareness also gives rise to and strengthens mindfulness. Sometimes, while you are supposed to be aware of your body's movement, your mind becomes distracted. Awareness of your body's movement sometimes helps your mind to recall that you must be mindful of your body, and that's why it can help to bring your mind back. It awakens mindfulness, bringing back the mind. For example, when you are listening to someone's speech, you rub your fingers. You may be distracted by the environment, by your worries or your concerns about something else. Suddenly, you feel the sensation of your fingers, and the sensation helps you to remember that you should be listening to the talk. So, mindfulness becomes function and brings your mind back to the talk, to be attentive to it. This is how awareness helps mindfulness to function, or take place. Mindfulness, awareness, and concentration are closely related. Mindfulness gives rise to awareness, awareness gives rise to concentration, and vice versa. They help each other, enhancing each other. Don't be confused when Luangpor sometimes mentions mindfulness, and a few moments later he mentions awareness or mindfulness and awareness. They are the same. Technically they are not the same, but in practice they work very closely together. Briefly speaking, mindfulness brings the mind back to the activity or meditation object. Once your mind is with the object, you have awareness, you know and you see clearly. With the functions of mindfulness and awareness as I mentioned, two things will occur. The first is calmness. It arises because you are not distracted by thoughts or by external stimulation. Your mind does not wander around because your mind is attentive to, or tied to, the meditation object. Thoughts may arise in your mind, but they are short and do not disturb you much. You may feel hot, you may feel cold, but it does not give rise to anger or upset you, because mindfulness brings you out of the anger or negative qualities, and back to the object of meditation. But, if you do not have an object of meditation, your mind can easily be caught in the anger, that is the result of unpleasant feelings. So, mindfulness and awareness help you to let go or be free from the discontentment. That is why calmness and relaxation are possible for the one who has mindfulness. The second thing that happens when you have mindfulness is wisdom, or clarity of mind. It happens because mindfulness and awareness keep your mind from liking or disliking, from being up or down, from being content or discontent. They keep your mind stable and without bias. If you have preferences, if you are discriminative and like or dislike, you have bias and you cannot see things clearly as they really are. This will not be the case if you have mindfulness. For example, when anger arises, you will not be caught up in it, you will distance yourself from it and see the anger. You do not reject anger, but just see it. You can see how it exists and how it passes away. But, if you get into the anger, you cannot see, and you cannot know the anger. Just as when you are in this hall, you cannot see what this hall looks like, unless you go outside, only then can you see what the Kuan Yin hall looks like. You have to be outside so that you can see clearly what or where it is. How can you be outside the anger if you do not have mindfulness? Mindfulness helps you to be outside the thought and see it as really is. That is why Luangpor always emphasizes that, you have to see. You should know. You should not be lost in any kind of thoughts, be they good or bad, of pleasure or pain, so that you can see and know. Truth will reveal itself. In short, as I mentioned, there are two kinds of results that will take place, calmness and insight, or wisdom. Yet, you should bear in mind that calmness is not the primary aim of this meditation. The primary aim is insight. If you take calmness as the primary objective, it is easy for you to become lost in calmness, and then you cannot even see what it is. Just recognize that calmness is like this, when it manifests itself, and do not be overjoyed with it. Just see that that's the way it is, and then try to maintain your mind to see, to be clear, keep knowing, keep observing. That's all. This is just to make a brief distinction between mindfulness and awareness, and to highlight their main functions as well as how they work together. Practically, they have more functions than what I have just mentioned. July 10, 1997. The point of balance. As you may be aware, Luangpor tries to suggest that you not watch your mind or watch your body closely. There are some justifications for that. In our daily life we tend to do a few things at the same time. You should allow your mind to be aware of your whole body rather than only a particular part of it. Otherwise, you may make mistakes in your activities. For example, when I began my practice, one day, I finished my lunch and had to throw the leftovers into the waste basket. Since I did not know how to practice properly, I forced my mind to concentrate only on my feet, while I was walking to the waste basket. When I arrived at the basket, I threw the leftovers into the basket, and forgot that not only the leftovers but the fork and spoon were also thrown away. Why? Because I concentrated too much on my feet. I did not allow my mind to be aware of my whole body, to be aware of the act of holding the plate with the leftovers and the fork and spoon. If you force your mind to concentrate only on one part of your body, you limit your awareness to that part and forget the rest. There is another story of a practitioner, who wanted to concentrate on every act of her movement in detail. Before she went to the office she had to get dressed. She concentrated on her act of dressing very consciously and very intensely. When she took the shirt, she concentrated on it. While wearing the shirt, she also concentrated on every movement of the wearing. The same applied to putting on her trousers, her socks, and her shoes. When she went to work, it took more than an hour for her to realize that she forgot to zip her trousers. It's okay if you walk with too much concentration in a walking meditation, it's not much of a problem because you only have one act. Yet in reality, you have many acts at the same time. You walk and you hold something in your hands. When you drive a car, you have to look at the road, and control the steering and the speed with your hands and legs. These require your total awareness. Focusing your mind on only one particular part of your body will cause problems. I have spoken only of the physical aspect or the aspect of the body activities so far. This principle also applies to the mental aspect. If you force your mind to watch your mind closely, you tend to block your thoughts. When there is no thought, you do not learn how to let go of it. You should allow thoughts to arise, so that you learn how to let go of the thoughts or emotions. If you block your mind, the thoughts cannot arise, and then you do not know how to let go of them when they do arise. It is important for you to keep your mind in balance, to not watch or concentrate too closely, nor to let it loose to all distractions. This will enable your mind to be aware of the mind, to be aware of the body, not only of your hands, but the whole of your body and also its surroundings. This is what we should do when we cross the road, especially the road in this country. You have to be aware of the act of walking, and also of the mind. Am I absent-minded? If you are absent-minded while crossing the road, it is very dangerous. You also need to be aware of your surrounding of the car that is coming. So, you have to be aware of three aspects: body, mind, and your surroundings. One can achieve this only if he keeps his mind in the point of balance, neither watching too closely the mind, nor concentrating merely on the body. For the beginners, do not be confused with what I said. Be aware of your body first. Do not pay much attention to the mind or to the thoughts because you have to go step by step. You may be aware of your surrounding at the same time, of the noise or whatever, just be aware with mindfulness. Do not be disturbed by the noise or by visitors that come to talk to you. Just see them as they really are, accept them as that's the way it is. That's all. This is what Luangpor Teean instructed Luangpor Teean 30 years ago. Because Luangpor Teean, at that time, was very good at concentrating his mind on the breath only, and would cut himself off from his surroundings or any kind of thoughts, because he watched closely only the mind. Once, when he was practicing in a closed room with closed windows and a closed door, Luangpor Teean came to interview him. Luangpor Teean did not go into the room but, standing outside the hut, asked, "What are you doing?" Luangpor Teean said, "I am practicing meditation." So Luangpor Teean asked, "Can you see me?" Luangpor Teean replied, "No, I cannot see you." Luangpor Teean then asked, "What does it take for you to see me?" Luangpor Teean replied, "I have to open the door first." So Luangpor Teean asked him to open the door. At once, he opened the door. Standing at the threshold, Luangpor Teean asked, "Now, do you see me?" Luangpor Teean replied, "Yes, now I see you." "Can you see inside the room?" Luangpor Teean replied, "Yes, I can see inside." "So, now you see both outside and inside, do you not?" Luangpor Teean said, "Yes, I can see both." Luangpor Teean said, "You should practice like this, do not focus your mind only on the inside. In other words, do not turn inward, but be aware of both the outward and the inward, that is the point of balance." So, Luangpor Teean suggested Luangpor Teean not block his mind or turn his mind inwardly, but allow his mind to be aware of the outside and of the whole of himself. This is how this practice is different from many other methods. Many methods try to block your mind. You can achieve concentration very easily with those methods. Yet, once you get out of the practice, your mind can easily be disturbed by thoughts, because you have not trained yourself in how to deal with them. Since the thoughts have been blocked, you have had no chance to be aware of them and thus learn to let go of them. This is how it is different. I just explained the reason behind Luangpor's suggestions. Why not watch closely so that you can develop total awareness during your practice, and apply total awareness during your daily life. July 10, 1997. Reconciliation. There are two fundamentals of practice. The first is to practice with relaxation. The second is to take it seriously. These two fundamentals are very important for the practice. The point is how you can reconcile them. When I first practiced, I felt it very difficult. I felt confused when Luangpor Teean said, "Be at ease, but take it seriously." He always stressed these words. Literally, he said, in Thai, "Do it playfully, but seriously." To do it playfully means that you have to be at ease when you practice, and to be at ease at the present moment. To take it seriously means you have to continue your practice all day, all week, all month, and all year. This is what he meant. To take it seriously means you have to continue it, neither giving it up nor stopping it. I think this is the art of the practice, how to reconcile the two opposing values, the two opposing principles. Both principles are good, but on some level they are contradictory. As you may remember, in the first few days, I talked about the middle way. The middle way is the practice that avoids the two extremes. The two extremes are bad, so we have to avoid them. That is the middle way. Yet, at the same time, there are two principles, two values, that are both good, but in opposition to each other. We have to reconcile them to make them in harmony. These are the arts of the practitioner. 1. You have to avoid the two extremes because both are bad, and 2. You have to harmonize the two values. These two arts are different. Sometimes people are confused, they think the middle way is to mix good and bad, and then divide it in two. That is not the middle way. The middle way is to avoid the two extremes and, at the same time, reconcile the two values, the two principles. In Buddhism, you will find that this art is very necessary. You have to reconcile faith and wisdom. Those who have too much faith always lack wisdom, those who have wisdom always lack faith, because they always criticize, always doubt, always feel uncertain. So the Buddha taught us to reconcile these two principles, do not miss any of them, but combine them in harmony. The same applies to diligence or earnestness and calmness. If you are too diligent, you tend to lack calmness or concentration, but if you develop too much concentration, you tend to be indolent. Again, you have to combine, or reconcile, concentration and diligence. Now, let us go back to what Luangpor Teean always mentioned, to practice relaxed, but seriously. It means that when you practice you should feel that you are taking a rest. When you walk, it is not much different from a morning walk or evening walk, in the sense that you do not expect much from such a walk. When you have a morning walk you do not expect much from the walk, do you? That is the attitude that we should apply to the practice. When you take something lightly, you do not worry about it, which enables you to feel joy and be relaxed in doing that work. Since you are not worried with the outcome, your mind can easily get into the balance. Since you are not worried about the outcome, and also have joy in doing the work, you can do it continually. You are not frightened with the work or become turned off by it. When children play, they can play all day and all night without being tired, because they feel joy and do not expect much from their play. Yet, if you ask them to do their homework, you turn them off because there are a lot of expectations from the teachers, from themselves and from their parents. There are standards against which the outcome has to be compared, and this always frightens, or turns off, people. That's why I asked you not to set any standards, any goals, or have any expectations. Do not set the goal that you will not be distracted in the next 10 minutes. You cannot do that, just be concerned with the present moment. If you are worried about the outcome, your mind is already in the future, the outcome is in the realm of the future. If you are concerned only with the cause, the practice, you are already in the present, the cause is what you have to make, and you can only make it in the present moment. If you can have this approach to the walking meditation, or to any kind of meditation, you will find that this approach or attitude is very helpful to your daily life. In daily life, we always have problems with our work. We are very tense and frustrated because we worry so much about the future, the outcome, or the reaction or response of people. Sometimes we are worried because we want ourselves to reach a goal as soon as possible. When we drive a car, we may feel unhappy because we want our car to reach the destination as early as possible. If you have such thoughts, you cannot drive the car relaxed or with happiness, especially when you are late. You feel upset and frustrated. The desire to reach the destination as soon as possible becomes like a fire that burns your mind. Remind yourself to pay attention to the present moment. It does not help at all if I am worried about being late, because it does not make me reach the destination faster or sooner than if I am not worried. The worry itself does not help, it does not change the situation. What you should be concerned about is trying to driving the car properly and as best as you can, because this is the only way that you can arrive at the destination without delay. So in real life you have to be at the present moment, and not allow the mind to be occupied by expectations or by the future. The attitude that causes suffering to a lot of people, especially people of today, is the expectation of getting the result or reaching the destination as soon as possible. When I write a book, if I think that it will take one more year or one more month to finish the job, I feel worried, because it's still a long time and I am tired already. Yet, if I bring my mind back to the work that I am doing at the moment, I feel less worried, and concentration takes place easily, because being at the present moment brings you calmness and concentration, and can enable you to continue your work without much problem. I think we have to learn how to do work without pushing or driving us at the same time. Just do whatever has to be done. If you do it continually, it is certain that work will produce results. My friend, a Zen monk, spoke about his master. Some of you may have heard of him, Shunryu Suzuki. Shunryu Suzuki is the author of Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. He has a center in San Francisco. When he started the temple in San Francisco 30 years ago, he had to do everything with his own hands. One of his big jobs was to prepare the garden. A Zen garden is composed of rocks, a lot of big rocks. Shunryu Suzuki is not a big person. He is just like Luangpor, but thinner. All day, he had to carry the heavy rocks to his garden and arrange them. His young Western disciple wanted to help, but after a few hours, he was tired. "Oh, I can no longer do this." He asked Suzuki, his master, "How could you do this all day?" Suzuki said, "I take a rest all day." When he lifted the rock, he just lifted it without much expectation that he had to carry 20 or 30 rocks a day. He did not set a goal, but just lifted the rock without judgment or expectation. His mind was with the rock and with himself, not anywhere else. He felt relaxed, which is why he said that he rested all day and could continue. He was serious about his rock garden, but he did it relaxed. It's as Luangpor Teean said, practice playfully, but take it seriously. To be at ease, enables you to work longer than when you take it seriously. Sometimes you drive a slow car, and you can arrive the destination sooner than those who drive at a fast speed. The same is true when you walk up a mountain. Those who do not know how to climb a mountain start climbing fast, and end up reaching the top later than those who walk slower. The meditation master or the hill tribe people just walk slowly, relaxed all the time, relaxed every step, and they reach the top before those who are serious or walk hastily. The practice is the same. Just walk, as you walk, simply walk, and take a rest every step. You will find that you are not tired after you walk the whole day or the whole week, because you take a rest with every step. Please apply this to your daily life. Not only in the spiritual aspect. Take Suzuki as an example. Even in the material or physical world, you need to apply this art, the art of reconciling the two principles, relaxed but seriously. You will find that in the real world this is really important. Individualism and responsibility to the community are the two principles you have to reconcile. In this country, they stress only individualism, and you have a lot of crime, a lot of drug addiction, etc., because people have lost the sense of communal responsibility. Individualism and responsibility to the community are both important. Right and duty are two opposite values that you should reconcile. The pursuit of happiness and virtues are both values. You cannot discard either of them. If you pursue happiness while ignoring virtues, you create problems for other people. If you are attached too much to virtues, you have no happiness because you are always afraid that you will offend other people, and you make yourself tense. Freedom and order are another example. Freedom is good, but order is good too. Yet, if you stress freedom, no order can take place. If you are too much concerned with order or discipline, freedom might be affected. So you have to reconcile these opposing values. This can be done if you learn this art from the practice. I myself have learned a lot from the practice. Because this art is very crucial for the practice, if you cannot learn it, it will be very difficult to achieve the practice. Please take this practice as a way to train your mind to have a skillful approach to your life, not only to meditation but to your whole life, to your family, to your work, and also to society as a whole. This is what I would like to offer this morning. July 11, 1997. Dealing with expectations. Let me elaborate on expectations' relationship to the practice, just to clarify this morning's talk. When I said that we should not have expectations during the practice, I did not mean that we should suppress or try to stop our expectation. This cannot be done because we come here with expectation, and expectation is inherent in our practice. I just want to say that despite our expectations, we should not allow them to bother us during our practice, let ourselves be preoccupied with them, or let them drive our practice. Just realize that, okay, the expectations are there, but there is no more than that. It should be noted that the progress of spiritual practice is most developed when expectations are at their lowest, or we have none at all. For example, after Buddha's death, Ananda tried hard to develop his practice to the level of Arahant, the last level of enlightenment. He had only one day left to finish his practice, before the first council was going to start. This was crucial because he was supposed to attend the council, but only the Arahant could attend. There were already 499 Arahants. The council was waiting for him, but he had to meet the requirement of being an Arahant. He had not yet achieved it, and there were only about 20 hours left. So he tried a lot that whole day, but he still could not achieve the final stage of enlightenment. Finally, at night, he was tired and decided to take a rest by a tree. The moment he leaned against tree trunk, at the moment when he felt that he wanted to relax, enlightenment took place. At that moment, his expectation was very low, either because he felt hopeless or because he just wanted to relax. I think the experiences of other enlightened beings are just the same. They get enlightenment or receive intuitive insight, when their minds are relaxed and in harmony with the present moment. Some of Luangpor Teean's disciples got insight while they were harvesting the crops, obviously with mindfulness. This law of enlightenment, or law of intuitive insight, also applies to the world of scientists and the world of daily life. You may have heard of the story about Eureka and Archimedes. He tried to find the law of density and he could not find it, until the moment he got himself into the bathtub. At that moment, he felt relaxed. After working all day, he just wanted to take a good bath. The moment he submerged himself in the bathtub, he realized the law of displacement, which is crucial for the calculation of the density of objects. If you want to know the density of this chair, you put it into water, calculate the volume of the water that overflows, or is displaced, the weight of the water and the weight of this chair, and then you know the density of the chair. So, the word Eureka, or the intuitive knowledge of Archimedes, arose when he had no expectation. The same applies to Newton. He found the law of gravity when he was going to relax under the apple tree. An apple fell. He realized the law of gravity. At that time, he had just put aside his research, so his expectations were very low at that moment. You see how intuitive knowledge works. It works when expectations are very low, and especially when you are very mindful in that present moment. So, the point is how you can practice without the drive of expectation, the drive of desire. This is a problem because we are usually driven by desire or expectation. In Buddhism there are two kinds of motivation. The first is desire, desire to get or desire to achieve. The second is zeal, you want to do, or you want to practice. There is a difference between the two. Desire is closely related to craving, and zeal is closely related to wisdom. With zeal, you realize that it is good, so you want to do it. Zeal is the desire to do, not the desire to get, not the desire to achieve but the desire to do. Buddhism does not say that you should not want. Yes, you should have wants. You should have the want to do, but not the desire to achieve or the desire to get. So, please learn to use zeal as the motivation for your practice. You see with your wisdom that meditation practice is good. It is not to satisfy your ego that you do it, but because it is good for yourself and for others. Then, you start practicing. Yet, for a lot of people, it is difficult to develop zeal, because desire always dominates their minds. That is okay. We have to accept the way it is. We have to accept that we have desires and expectations. But again, once we start walking, once we start moving our hands, it is time to turn our attention to our body's movements, and leave our expectations and desires behind. Submerge yourself in the present moment, in the act of walking, in the act of moving. When you get the results of the practice, you will have confidence in the practice, and you will see for yourself, oh, this practice is good. You develop zeal because you have seen for yourself the results of the practice. This is how zeal is developed. You see it yourself, with your mind, oh, this is good. So you develop the inclination to practice, and this time you practice without the drive of expectation. You enjoy doing it, so you just do it. Enjoyment is the result of your zeal. If you enjoy something, you do it. You do not mind what will happen. I like it. I enjoy it. So, I do it. There is no more than that. Find out how you can enjoy the practice. The more you enjoy it, the more you will practice it relaxed and at ease, and the more you will get results. The more you get results, the more you become confident, and then you will just do it. We do not need the drive of expectation or the drive of desire. I think this is the motivation that people lack. We are taught that only desire can drive people to do things. Actually, there is another motivation that can get us to work. Zeal as a Buddhist motivation is very important, not only in meditation but in any kind of work. This is what I would like to offer you for reflection. In summary, how should we deal with expectations? First, accept them for what they are. Accept that expectations exist in our minds, but do not let them bother our practice, or pay much attention to them. Just be at the present moment with the work you are going to do, and do not allow yourself to be driven by expectations. Try to develop the other kind of motivation, zeal. With the right motivation, you will find that results arise not in the future, but at the present moment. Normally, people just wait for the future, wait for the results to come. If you have a positive approach, a positive mind, you will see results, and the outcome always comes at the present moment. Please be sensitive to the immediate results, that always take place but that we always ignore. As Luangpor always says, once you move your hands, you already get the outcome, the awareness. You need not wait for the future. It has already arisen, but you have to be aware of that. That's why we can be happy at the present moment, because we get results at the present moment. We do not need to wait for the future. It is too risky to wait for the future is uncertain. But, the immediate result is guaranteed by our practice. That's all for this afternoon. July 11, 1997. Unreliable thoughts. I am sure that you all have a lot of experience with thoughts and emotions. Some of you may be able to see the thoughts themselves. You may realize that these thoughts, emotions, and feelings are quite unstable, which is why they are uncontrollable and unreliable. But, despite their instability, thoughts and emotions have a lot of power to tempt us, because they need our attention to sustain themselves. Without our attention, thoughts and emotions just fade away. They need your attention, it is the only requirement for their survival. You know, it is as if thought has a life of its own, despite its instability. It is like a virus that tries to manipulate your cells, drawing support from you. If you are not aware of such nature of thoughts and emotions, you can be easily tempted by them, deceived by them. They try to lure you, saying, "Hey, I am you." My thoughts call me, saying, "I am Paisan, I am yours, so you should take care of me." Sometimes I am tempted to take them to be my belongings, because they are very smart thoughts, very intelligent thoughts. I would like to grasp them, but you have to be careful, not to rush and grab them. Do not believe them so quickly because they are unreliable, especially the unintentional ones. We cannot even believe the good thoughts, for they can play tricks on us too, if we are not mindful enough. There is a story about a person who enjoyed drinking, and tried to give it up but failed. Every time he passed the bar on his way home, he could not resist his desire, the temptation, to go inside and have a drink. He tried to resist many times but failed. One day, he was determined that he would not fail himself anymore, so he prayed to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, to the Sangha, and to all the other deities, after he finished his job in the office. He felt quite strong after he had asked for help from everyone to increase his willpower. When he approached the bar, the temptation arose, but he tried to deny it. No, this time no. But on his first step in front of the bar, a thought arose, "Hey, why don't I have a last drink?" "No, no, no. I can't," he said to himself. On the second step, "Hey, okay, not a full cup, only half a cup." "No," he said, and he proceeded. The bar was not very big, but those few moments seemed to last a very long time. Then, another thought came up, "Okay, 1/4. "Better not," said a voice in his mind. Suddenly, his friend in the bar called, "Hey, come come." Again, he refused. But then he thought, "Hey, it will break the friendship if I refuse his offer." But, he was still determined not to drink. Thoughts of every rationale you can imagine flashed through his mind. Nevertheless, he finally passed the store. "I've done it. I am the winner." He was suffused with a sense of victory. Suddenly, a thought came up, "Hey, let's celebrate the victory." He then turned back to the bar. Thoughts can trick us. They are very rational, and can turn even victory into disaster. We should not believe them but try to see them, so we do not fall into their trap. So, mindfulness is very important even in daily life. Every year many old women would come to see Ajahn Chah, a big master in northeastern Thailand, and ask his permission for them to stay at the temple, because they had quarreled with their husbands. Everybody would say, "I will stay here for life. I will not go back to my house anymore. I am fed up with him. No more. I am disenchanted with the household life. Please allow me to stay and practice with you." A few days later, the husbands would come, visit them, and ask them to go home. The women who had been determined to stay in the temple for life, would change their minds after a small chat and decide to go home. Even strong, powerful, and quite determined thoughts can disappear, or wear out, after a few days passed. You may have noticed that you have a lot of good thoughts or ideas during the practice. "I want to do this, I want to do that, after I go home I will do this, I will do that." But if you do not jump into that thought or idea, and just see it and ignore it, after a few hours or a few days, you will find that that thought becomes weak and is not as interesting anymore. When you have a beautiful or great idea, you need to remind yourself, "It is not sure." This is the third mantra I will give you. Do you remember the first two mantras? Never mind and, that's the way it is. Now, the third one, it is not sure, or is that so? If you reach some conclusion about someone, like, this guy is very bad, this guy is unfaithful to me, this guy is deceiving me, or this guy is very good, he is very generous, you should say the mantra to yourself, is that so, or that is not sure. If it is a real thought, a real judgment and the right conclusion, it will last. Otherwise, it will waver and weaken. So try to see thoughts as they really are, unstable, uncontrollable, and unreliable. Unless they are born out of wisdom or mindfulness, they are completely unreliable. This is just the first step of insight into the nature of thoughts. During the practice, you may reach this understanding, and later you will see the deeper characteristics of thoughts and emotions. Luangpor repeats many times, they are impermanent. They are unsatisfactory. They are not self. Even happiness, pleasant feelings, or the bliss from meditation, are ultimately unsatisfactory. After you have been absorbed by joy for a while, you will feel that it is not enough. You want more. If you attain the first absorption, in the first few days, you feel very happy. Later, you find that you want more. You want the second absorption. You want more and more, because your level of happiness has increased. You need more happiness to satisfy your new higher standards and expectations. It will never end. But if you are mindful enough, and do not fall into the trap of happiness or pleasant feelings, you will feel content. You will have contentment. You will know what self-contentment, modesty, and moderation mean. Moderation is possible only for those who have mindfulness. Otherwise, you just need more, and it will never end. This is about unsatisfactory. The last characteristic is selflessness or no self, which is very important. You may be able to understand this, when you see that the thoughts you have are not really yours. If you are mindful enough, you will see that this is not my thought, this is not my emotion. But without mindfulness, you tend to grasp it, taking it as your own. We are likely to take it to be me, to be mine. This is mine, this belongs to myself. This thought is my thought. If you disagree with my thought, you disagree with me. You take it personally. A lot of problems arise because of such disputes. When your friend disagrees with an idea which you take to be yours, to be yourself, you tend to be angry. Since you feel that he or she is questioning you. But, if you take this idea as just an idea presented by you without attachment to it, it does not matter at all if your friend disagrees with your idea. With your practice, you keep being aware of the thought, you see it come and go, arise and cease, occur and pass away. If you try to grasp or maintain beautiful feelings or pleasant emotions, they will resist your attempt. You will realize that they are uncontrollable and not yours. They cannot be yours. If you have this insight, you will understand why we cannot and should not believe our thoughts, because they just come and go, they have no self. This is what Luangpor tries to instruct you, but you do not need to rush or try to have such insight. If you repeatedly take notice of your thoughts, if you know them and are aware of them, the insight will come by itself. The nature or the characteristic of thoughts and emotions, or all mental states, will be apparent to you. That's why Luangpor says, the truth will reveal itself. Our job is to obtain or sustain awareness. So just stay aware and the process will lead you to the truth. That's all for this morning. July 12, 1997. Meditators for Friends. According to the Buddha, there are 4 very good friends who help each other and also are very helpful to us: mindfulness, sati, awareness, sampajanya, concentration, samadhi, and wisdom, panya. If you are skillful, you can use these 4 friends, or these 4 virtues, to handle a disturbed mind or distracted thoughts. You have already been introduced to mindfulness and awareness, and know how to deal with distracted thoughts, that is to be aware and mindful of these thoughts or emotions. Once these thoughts are recognized by our awareness, they just fade away. It is as if you come face to face with a burglar about to steal something from your house. You see him and he becomes frightened and disappears. Or, it is like a dog. Suppose we visit a friend's house, and his dog is barking and going to bite us. If we just call out the name of the dog, it will stop. This is how mindfulness and awareness work together, to keep you from being attacked or hurt by distracted thoughts. Yet, Sometimes the burglar is very big and you are very small. You saw him face to face but he just knocked you down. So if the thoughts are very powerful and your mindfulness is still weak, it is not appropriate for your mindfulness to face such powerful thoughts. It is better for you to turn your back on these thoughts. Just ignore them. This will be helpful for beginners. That's why Luangpor suggests that in the beginning stage you just be aware of your body, and do not pay much attention to your thoughts. Ignore all thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and just pay attention to your body. In some situations, concentration may be necessary for us to handle powerful thoughts or emotions. Concentration, in this case, means fixing our mind on something that can turn our attention from distracted thoughts. Normally, object of concentration we prefer is that which is attractive to our mind. For example, if you get angry and want to get rid of the anger, you may find it easy to turn your mind or your attention from anger to music, toys, or whatever gives you pleasure. If you are attentive enough to the object that you have chosen to be attentive to, a few minutes or a few hours later, you will find that the anger has disappeared. Anger, like any emotion or thought, is like fire, it needs fuel. Normally, it is sustained because we ourselves keep adding fuel to the fire, so it keeps burning. If we turn our attention to something else, or do not put firewood into the fire will be extinguished because there is no wood to consume. Yet, in reality, we cannot depend on music or something external to us all the time, because anger can take place anytime, in the subway, or during a conversation. So we need to depend on ourselves, by choosing those we already have as objects for concentration. That is why the master suggests you use the breath or your body's movement as the object of meditation. When you feel disturbed by thoughts or emotions, you should just turn your mind back to the breath or your body's movement. Gradually, the thoughts or disturbing emotions just disappear. In the beginning, the breath or your body's movement is not powerful enough to attract your mind. It is less attractive than music, sports, etc. Yet, if you practice enough, your mind will become familiar with the breath or your body's movement, and it can be in harmony or as one with them easily. The fourth friend is wisdom. This has a lot of meaning. When you become distracted by your thoughts and do not know how to deal with them, you may try to bargain with them. You may say to yourself, "Okay, I will talk with you later," or "I will think this thought later, but not now." You negotiate with them. To bargain with the thoughts, saying, "After this retreat I will recall you again, but not now," is a technique you can use to reduce the thoughts. Normally, only the advanced practitioner can use wisdom to handle the thoughts, because it is a method that requires one to come face to face with one's thoughts and emotions. If your mindfulness is not powerful enough, your thoughts or emotions will just trap you, or trick you, persuading you to fall into them. In Thailand, masters have a practice of going into the forest alone. We call it tudong. It means to live as an ascetic in the forest or in the cemetery. A lot of things may happen: fear, the beast, tigers, or elephants can attack the practitioner. Many masters find that the fear or threat from the wild animals is good instrument, good condition, or great situation, to pressure them to develop concentration, because if they turn their attention from the breath to the beast, they will be overwhelmed by fear. Because they are really afraid of the beast, their minds turn inward, developing concentration a lot. So masters use the threatening situation to force their minds to look inwards. This is a skillful and unusual way of developing concentration and mindfulness. One master, Ajahn Chah, tried to look into the fear to investigate it. When the powerful fear arose, he investigated the fear and asked himself, "What are you afraid of?" A voice replied, "I am afraid of death." Then he asked himself, "If you don't die today, won't you still die tomorrow?" "Everybody has to die, today or tomorrow," he replied. So, he asked again, "Why should I be afraid? Everybody has to die." This enabled him to face death at that moment with peacefulness. Some masters in that situation just keep asking, What am I afraid of? I am afraid of the tiger. Which part of the tiger are you afraid of, the tail, the ears, the eyes, the legs, or the claws? No, I am not afraid of the tail, nor the ears, nor the eyes, nor the legs, nor the claws. So, what are you afraid of? I don't know. With such penetration by wisdom, fearful emotions just pass away. They do not use rationalization, but an analytical mind to divide the tiger parts, and they do not feel fearful. But as Luangpor says, if you have insights into body and mind, into the nature of body and mind, into the temporary state of body and mind, such insights will enable you to go through all problems, distraction, and negative emotions very easily. With a flash of insight, you can go right through them, you have no need of questions and answers. If you understand that these mental states are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self, the thoughts are there but they are not me, they are not mine, you become detached from them and they lose the power to tempt you. This is how wisdom works to solve problems. This is just a summary of how to use the different means of dealing with the enemies of the mind. We are like warriors, we need to know many kinds of weapons to deal with our enemies. If you only know one weapon, it is not enough to handle different kinds of problems. In fact, a sense of humor can help you too. If you take any given thought too seriously, you will get into trouble, but if you make fun of it or have a sense of humor, you feel more lighthearted. You can laugh at it, as Luangpor always says, laugh at your thoughts and tell yourself not to be crazy with them. That is also helpful. For example, when you are disturbed by the noise of building construction, visualize the face of the man who is doing the job. Oh, what a poor man! We will have no hostility toward him, but rather pity him. Please learn how to use various techniques, or virtues, for your own benefit, for your own spiritual practice. Nevertheless, I am not much worried about the problems that we face, because when we have problems, we tend to be careful. It is when we are happy that we tend to be careless, and drop our guards like the alcoholic man in the story that I told you earlier. He was very careful when he walked past the bar, which is why a lot of temptations could not persuade him to drink. But when he passed the store, he became proud. Oh, I am the victor. I am the winner. At that moment, he became less careful, and the desire to drink tricked him, convincing him to go back to the bar. Please be careful when you achieve some level of spiritual success, when you have insight, or when you attain the well-developed mindfulness. At that moment, you have to be very careful. There is a story that in China, during a talk like this in a temple, there was an earthquake. All the disciples ran away, but the master stayed still in his place, showing no sign of fear. The next day, after the chanting and the Dhamma talk, there was question and answer session. One student asked, "What is mindfulness?" The master replied, "Mindfulness is the ability to be calm in time of danger. For example, did you see me? When there was an earthquake, I could stay still and drink water without showing any signs of fear. Did you see me tremble? No." One student answered, "You did not drink water. You drank soy sauce. So, please be very careful with pride and conceit. They are very dangerous. Conceit is the last obstacle that only the Arahant can get rid of. Be careful." July 12, 1997. Meditation in action. Meditation enables us to be with ourselves, to see ourselves speaks, sometimes silently, sometimes loudly, sometimes frustratedly, and sometimes happily. You can see how silent or how loud your mind is. We need time to converse with ourselves, to see ourselves, because most of the time our attention is turned to our surroundings, to television, to books, to work, or to our families. We do not have much time to be with ourselves, despite the fact that we should be our best friends. The practice of meditation is the way to make yourself your own best friend, as much as it can be. There is another kind of friend, a bad friend, the friend who seems to agree with us all the time, who spoils us without ever resisting or disagreeing with us. This is not a good friend. A good friend is a friend that keeps reminding you of the proper way of living, who keeps reminding you not to be lost in yourself. Mindfulness works like that. It keeps calling your mind not to be spoiled, not to indulge in your thoughts, be they good thoughts or bad thoughts. Those who have mindfulness will be aware of this. You can observe for yourself how long you have already spoiled your mind. You let it be distracted all the time, you never try to call it back to its proper place. You just follow it, and support it. When your mind gets angry, you follow the anger. When your mind is frustrated, you let it dwell on its frustration. You never recall your mind. Sometimes you may try, but you never have enough strength to call it back. Hey, come back. You are indulging in anger. You are lost in anxiety or suffering. Come back. Now, with mindfulness, you will be able to be a good friend to yourself. You will be able to call your mind back to its proper place, to the present moment, to the present activity. We are not going to spoil our minds anymore. We will be able to turn our attention to the place where it can experience non-suffering, be beyond suffering. You may call it happiness, if you like. But if you have insight, you will know that happiness is also a kind of suffering. Suffering is like the head of the snake, happiness is like the tail of the snake. When you touch the tail of the snake, it does not bite you instantly, but later, the snake will turn around and bite you. That is why we should go beyond happiness and suffering, a state that can be achieved with mindfulness. Now, we are able to be our best friend, a noble friend, Galyanamitta. Galyanamitta means noble friend. It is like this with weeds too. Weeds are undesirable in some respects, but if you arrange them properly and skillfully, they can live peacefully with the flowers, and become part of a beautiful garden. Weeds are not useless all the time, in some situations they are very beneficial. They become herbs or decorative plants in the garden. Learn how to arrange the ugliness or the undesirable qualities in your life properly and skillfully, so they can be transformed from harmful to beneficial properties. Anger can be transformed, anxiety can be transformed, jealousy can be transformed, hatred can be transformed, but these transformations are not possible if you do not know how to come to terms with them.
May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be